give to you your wassail too. And God bless you and keep you from all that we will do. And God bless you and keep you from all that we
I also forgot that's the debut of people getting to hear the music for the first time. So, Chad, if you're watching and you enjoyed that horrible, creepy music, that's a part of this campaign. You're gonna find out and hear all kinds of fun things. It's a really rough start, also too. I'm going bonkers right now. Hey, my name's Tony Vicente. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. And we do that in a lot of different ways. But the most fun way, the way that is the most enjoyable, is to sit down with those creators to play those games. And that's what we are doing today in a continuation of our EX Scream Week here on Plus One EXP, which is a series of week-long spooky streams that Keegan was like, what if we streamed horror games all week long? And I was like, that sounds great. And now we're in that week, and current Tony and current Keegan are very upset with past Tony and past Keegan. But I am not upset to be playing this game right now with these people, because we're also announcing today that this game is going to crowdfunding, that we are going to be working with the team to publish it. You can go to ttrpg.link/hono, that's HONO, in order to check out the Wassailing at Claus Manor. To learn a little bit more about the game, Mike, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and where people, a little bit more about this game.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mike Martens. I am a writer for a bunch of the Gauntlet publications, as well as the Trophy Dark spin-off Sunken, which is a nautical horror trophy. Instead of the woods, we're at the sea. Also the designer and art director for The Butter Princess, which I think you see in the background of most of our screens. The award-winning
I'll motion off screen.
Oh, wonderful. That, a bunch of other random things as well, and the upcoming Planet Raygun, which is retro heists in space, and that's going to be a lot of fun, but it's the holiday season. Well, it's 2 holidays, right? Like, we're headed into Halloween here, and then we've got, who cares about Thanksgiving? Give thanks that it's there and move on. And then we've got that winter wonderland of Christmas and all the traditions around it. So the Wassailing of Claus Manor, or the Wassailing of Claus
Hold
Manor,
on, we've got some complexities in the chat. Somebody just mentioned the fact that they think Thanksgiving was a couple of weeks ago.
That was actually me, and
which
it
is
was
bizarre because you'd have to be from Canada to think that.
Yeah, well, maybe you guys should just not have so many holidays so close together.
And we know that Canadian Thanksgiving is invalid, so let's just keep on moving. Mike, continue to tell us about the Wassailing at Claus Manor.
Well, from a Canadian perspective, this is actually perfect because we don't have Thanksgiving. We pull it right out and we go straight from horror into Christmassy holidays, festivities, all of that type of thing. And we end up in the Wassailing or the Wassailing of Claus Manor, whichever you prefer, is actually completely okay. But what is this game? It's sort of a weird mashup of Downton Abbey, of the Mike Flanagan horror TV shows, so like The Haunting of Bly Manor and Hill House and Midnight Mass and whatever else. That, and then we wrap that up into a bundle and throw in a bunch of Christmas movies and Santa Claus and all of that, and we just let the madness unfold. It is somewhat, if you've played or are familiar with Bedlam Hall, the structure is kind of similar to that, where we've got a family, we're going to set up a servant staff, and they are going to be trying to deal with these progressive troubles that the family has. That said, the mechanics are built on Trophy Dark, so it's very easy to pick up and play. You get very evocative characters very quickly, build up skills, roll d6s. Yeah, quick and fun. There's some influences from Brindlewood Bay, those types of things, in that we have masks where the characters are going to give us a little bit of their secret backgrounds as they get into trouble, to try and temper their holiday spirit, because if their holiday spirit goes off the charts, some very wild things begin to happen.
It sounds like a real figgy pudding of cool stuff that you put together, by which I mean no one knows exactly what's inside it, but we won't go until we get some, is what I'm understanding. Is that a fair statement?
Mm-hmm.
Because people got to get used to that kind of joke from me for the next month and a half while we are making this project a reality. So our viewer count plummeting is probably a good indicator of where things are headed. No, I'm super excited to play. Let's meet our other players. Let's meet the other member of the creative team who is here with us. Michael, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and if you want to be found online, where they can find you.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Van Vliet. I was a contributing writer to the Trophy Core books and a number of other Gauntlet properties, wrote mysteries for Brindlewood Bay and Public Access. On my own, I wrote Devil Aim for Me, which is a Weird West take on the Trophy Dark rules. Contributed and helped shape Butter Princess a little bit, so you'll see me in the tiny little contributors line in there. And from there, I had my foot in the door, and they had to let me in for the Wassailing of Claus Manor, because you can't just crush a foot for Christmas. So my foot is intact, and that's how I got here. I am not easy to find online. I went through a spate of deleting social media accounts. I am on Blue Sky at Signal Station if you're there. And yeah, signalstation.com is an easy way to find me.
Awesome. Love it. And then the most Christmassy of us all, we've got Amanda. Why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda. My pronouns are she, her. I mostly just try and get into as many games as I possibly can. That's generally what I do. I do some writing, not a lot. I'm kind of a noob writer, but I am learning a lot from the various experts that I hang around with and bug all the time. The people in this chat or in this game all know that because I bug them all the time. You can find me on Twitter at I am T-Rex. No, on Twitter I am at. Hold on. There's too many social medias now.
I think I'm a T-Rex also.
I'm a T-Rex on Blue Sky. I'm a T-Rex most places, but on Twitter I am no Amanda Stop.
Oh dang! I definitely tagged somebody else as
NOAMANDA.
we went live. That's great. I'm very excited. Some T
It's
Rex out
okay.
there is very confused.
That other person, that other T-Rex, has had that name for a really, really long time, and I've been trying to like steal it out from under them, but they don't use their accounts, so they probably won't even see it. So
Like since the Cretaceous.
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
I wonder what happened. Awesome. Very excited. I'm really excited to dive in. We're going to do that in just 1 second. But Michael, I do want to remind people that you did forget to mention that you do have an upcoming release, I'm pretty sure. Can you tell us about the upcoming release, the game that you have coming out, not in November, but in December besides this one?
Yes, even more Christmassy than this one. As part of Plus One's Zine Club, we're going to be seeing in print Die, Grave Robber Die, a fog-drenched horror holiday of its own, where using Trophy Dark rules, a bunch of players will chase after some grave robbers and try and get a very important body back from a Frankenstein-like house of horrors. It's miserable from top to bottom, but everyone that I've run it for has enjoyed driving their characters mad into their own destruction.
Yeah,
It got a good reception at Big Bad Con, for example. Just ran it there recently.
Yeah, I got to watch you play at Big Bad Con with an absolutely amazing table also too. Some of whom have now joined our stream team because I was super impressed just with their behavior at the table. But it was super fun to get to see. I'm very excited about it. If you have not gone over to join and check out RPG Zine Club yet, go to rpgzine.club. Help support this channel and emerging creators from across the globe and just voices that we really love, people whose design work we really loved to see into print, and we're really excited to have Michael be on that crew. Really excited to be playing with all of you. With that said, anytime we sit down to play, we always use a couple different tools to keep us on track. Those are typically lines, veils, the X card, and the open door policy, unless the system we're using suggests other tools. But lots of times we also just use those because it's good to be consistent in what you do also. So lines are things that might happen in the world of the game, but they don't happen while we are playing it. They are things that are off limits in play. We have a strong line against sexual violence and sexual coercion on the channel. Veils are things that may come up in play, but we only mention them lightly and then move forward, or touch on them only within a certain context. Maybe that's fading to black. Maybe that's just mentioning it but not dwelling on it. There's a lot of different ways that veils can be handled, but there are things we treat with care when they come up in play. Then the X card is the ability at any point in time for any of us to say or type X, pause the game, identify something that's an issue, and pull it out. We may update our lines and veils when we do that. So I already mentioned our channel standards. Mike, before we have people list theirs off, do you want to give us any sort of caution warnings about things that may come up in this game that we should be aware of, or that our watchers should be aware of?
Yeah, some of the typical stuff that can fall into this realm for folks is that there's certainly violence, and at times that will be bloody violence. There's going to be some light body horror. I think not anything, and I would say with a lot of this, we're not pushing too far into this. This is more about the sort of like weird, strange, eerie, but there will be some graphic elements. Demonic summonings. There is some potential harm to magical reindeer, and then harm to naughty children within this.
Cool. Awesome. Again,
not pushing too far into any of that, but let me know if there are any lines or veils around those things particularly.
Does anybody have any lines or veils they want to add to that?
My lines are pretty standard. I have lines against sexual assault. I have lines against homophobia, transphobia, and fat phobia. I know that the Santa Claus is in this, so there might be a little bit of negotiating there. But I think those are basically the big ones. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else.
It's a bad time to mention that I just hate Christmas.
I've already mentioned that like 6 times before we started playing.
Awesome. Veil on Christmas. And so I'm very excited to play this Downton Abbey simulator that we've got going now. No, that's awesome. Again, remember, we can always identify those and update those as needed. The last thing I'll mention is our open door policy. We're all real people with real lives happening around us outside of this little square box that you see us in. So we may need to step off screen, talk to somebody off screen, eat, drink, do normal human things that normal people do to take care of themselves. We're going to take care of ourselves while we're streaming. We hope you take care of yourself while we are watching, and that's a totally normal and healthy thing that we all should do. With that said, Mike, I'm going to hand things over to you. I know everybody else already has their characters ready, totally 100%. I wanted to showcase it on stream, so I didn't get my character ready. That's 100% what happened. But I'm going to show people the Figma board you have created, which is dope. And I know you can do a lot in Figma, but I never know what all you can do in Figma. And apparently scrolling up does not zoom you in, which was what my brain expected it to do. It just moves you up on the screen. But tell us a little
If
bit
you hold
about.
control while you scroll in and out, it'll zoom in.
That's good to know. Tell us a little bit about how we make a character and anything else we need to know about setup.
Yeah, it should be pretty simple. So just a little quick background on like timing and where we are in the world and that type of thing, just to kind of get you in the mood and the setting and the place. So this is the Edwardian era. The details here are not specific. It's not a specific satire of the Edwardian era, that type of thing. We're just kind of using it really as set dressing. So it is a manor that is run by the Clauses, and we are in the earliest, essentially the turn of the, oh my gosh. Is this the turn of the 20th century or the turn? I think it's the turn of the 20th century is what that, I always get mixed up on that. So that's where we're at. The world is changing. Industry is changing the world. The population is booming. And the Clauses are trying to keep up with that. They're trying to grapple with that. And they've started playing with sinister forces in order to achieve that. You're in the North Pole, but this is sort of that fantastical version of the North Pole. Where is it exactly? Who knows? It's there. It's snowy. There's a little village called Tannenberg that's off in the outskirts that you could potentially like spend a day walking to or a short drive over there. And you all are going to be the servant staff for the Clauses. So in order to do that, we're going to decide a few things. The first is servant role. And the servant role comes with 3 different skills. So this is like a OSR games or trophy is where my experience comes from this. So it's going to be a term, a tag that you will be able to apply to get bonuses, to get dice on your roll. As a note, these tend to be, in this game, our skills are kind of punny. So there's a lot of jokes that are hidden in how the skills play together, that type of thing. I think the servant roles are pretty straightforward. But the next part that you're going to pick beyond servant roles, so the examples of that would be a butler, a cook, housekeeper, maid, valet, all of those classic Edwardian household servant roles. The next thing that you're going to select would be the background of your character. So what did you do before you ended up here with this job in Claus Manor? Those are going to add 2 more skills to your set. And those will be things like, were you a farm kid? Were you a city mouse? Military conscript, starving artist, lapsed clergy, quack doctor, all of those types of things. And this is where those skills start to get a little bit more playful and odd. So those are the 2 big keys. Now there's 2 more here. We're going to decide on the seniority of your character. Seniority comes with 2 components to it. So for those of you who are familiar with Trophy, which I think everybody, at least on the stream is, there is your ruin, or essentially like your journey to ruin is marked by holiday spirit in this game. So the higher your holiday spirit, the more that you're just trying to deal with the terrible things that you see and the strange things you see with joy and festive nature. Very like things get very silly as you're just trying to pretend that icicle that's dropping on you is a popsicle or things like that. You start seeing the world in a different way, in a happier, more cheery way. So that's what holiday spirit connects to. So the higher your holiday spirit, it can go up to 6, and then you become a legend of Christmas and disappear from the manor, or dismissed from the manor, because we don't mix business with Christmas when it comes to the servant staff. The other piece of this is a token system called ducks. Ducks allow you to do one of two things.
All right, we need to
if
clarify
a family
real quick.
member, yes,
Ducks, like DUCT, or ducks, DUKS?
quack, quack, quack.
Okay.
And or as if you're ducking responsibility.
Gotcha.
And that's really what this is that when a family members are going to be summoning you to particular parts of the manor and making elaborate, if not dangerous, requests of you. If you're looking at that as a character or as a player and just saying like, yeah, that's not really my thing. If you've got a duck, that is a token that you can use to essentially push that responsibility onto someone else. You give them that token then. The tokens just exist in perpetuity, but whoever gets the duck pushed onto them, you can't push it onto another person. So you can't have this endless cycle of ducking things. So this sort of brings up kind of the interplay and some of the intertension without being like a very like nasty PvP type of thing. Yeah. The other mechanism for ducks is what we call cooking one's goose. If you want to cook someone's goose, you can expend the duck, and that basically you're challenging them. You're saying, you know what? I don't think you're actually good at this. I don't think you're actually a very good cook. I think you might be lying about that. Or there's some different ways that you can do it. And when you use a duck, it expends the token altogether. It disappears from play. The bonus on it is that it's so nasty, it's so naughty that everyone loses. We drop down 1 holiday spirit. You can choose, if somebody challenges you, you can say, yeah, you know what? I'm a cook. I am just going to make this. Don't make me try and do this without my culinary skills. It's cool. You can always push back on it. But if you do accept it, you, along with everyone else in the servant staff, gets to mark their holiday spirit down by 1. So it's a good way, if things get desperate, that you might start pushing on people and challenging them to up the ante a little bit. And then the final piece of this is that some of the people with the most seniority also get to add a skill for a particular family member. You aren't necessarily going to know that that's the family member that's going to be requesting your help. But if it does, and you can kind of as players then figure out like, oh, do I duck to push this to Bob Humbug? Because Bob has skill with Santa and I don't, and I hate that guy. That type of thing. So seniority, that's the summary of all the things that are built up into that. The more senior you are, the higher your holiday spirit, but the more ducks and the more family skills that you get. So this can be anywhere from it's your first day to you've been here a few months, all the way up to as long as anyone here can remember. And then the final piece of the character puzzle is spirit trouble. So if you're familiar with Trophy or Carve from Brindlewood games, all of that, spirit trouble is essentially like a condition that is just attached to your character. And this has each of these, it's a trouble for your character as well. And as your holiday spirit goes up, so does the absurdity of whatever this trouble is. So some of these we'll kind of get into what it actually will mean for the characters, but there's things like what Amanda has picked. The spirit trouble there is earworm, which is you just really love a good Christmas carol. There's things like fire is so delightful, where nothing relaxes you more than a Yule log, or visions of sugar plums, where you feel like you can sense the future. So these all start very mundane, very nice, cute, quirky, but they start getting bizarre and wild as we go. So that's a little bit of over-explaining it for the folks that are watching, and also just as we are introducing this so you get a better sense of the rules. But pretty simple. You're just going to pick a servant role. You're going to pick a background, some level of seniority, and then a spirit trouble. And with this particular Figma board, you can just drag the things over into their appropriate spots.
Oh, wow. Well, that makes things convenient. Thanks.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to type a bunch of stuff in. But
No.
now I don't. Now I don't have to. That's for suckers.
We
Amanda, what
hate
did you
typing
pick
in North Pole.
already?
I picked the role of chauffeur, which gives me driving, repairs, and punctuality. The joke here is that I, Amanda, have no idea about anything about cars. I also picked the background degenerate gambler, which gives me skills in bluffing and mathematics. Unfortunately, I, Amanda, do know mathematics. And my spirit trouble is earworm. So
Cool. Love it.
I apologize in advance.
I also love that Mike was like, earworm is like hard mode, and you were like immediately like, me, that I want it. In our chat. Michael, do you
because
have anything?
I infamously hate Christmas carols, so it's obviously the funniest one to pick.
Michael, anything that's jumping out to you that you really are gravitating towards?
I had been giving some thought towards maybe trying a butler this
Okay.
time around.
That's cool. I'm gonna grab ballet. All right.
And then I think I'm going to go with military conscript for the past.
Love it.
Everything in its right place.
I am gonna go with I am as almost always in my life torn between being a starving artist, being lapsed clergy, and being a quack doctor. Those are the three tent poles of my soul. And let's see, I'm the valet, so I do love maybe just doubling down on being a, let's go with lapse clergy. That sounds good.
Do you want to tell the viewers at home? Oh, I'll let you guys finish the characters, then we can introduce them quickly.
I mean, we want to talk about the things. I mean, dead air is not helpful for anybody, so we can absolutely talk through things. But seniority, does anybody have feelings? Oh, a few months. Okay, cool.
And these, we can have a mix of them. So if everybody wants to be the same thing, we just say that the staff.
Yeah, a few months, a few years. Bring me some. Somebody was just asking if they could make cookies, and I said, you know, obviously, as long as I get some. Let's see. A few months, few years. I'll go. Man, do I want to play on either of the hard modes? I would
say it's probably beginner. It's probably best to stick on the middle. I think people get very tempted by having the extra ducks and the extra skills and that type of thing, but it does require you to start being nasty a little bit earlier than.
I was just going to actually go with first day.
Sure.
Love it. Narratively, it's the most fun, and it gives you a lot of room to, be the butt of everyone's ducks.
Yep.
To get goosed while being the butt of the ducks.
And then we've got somebody with an earworm. Mr. Trollhands, we do take duck health seriously, not just in this manner, but on the stream. Sovereign of the North, Sweet Tooth, Fire So Delightful, Think Fast, and Visions of Sugar Plums. It's my first day.
Let me know if you need any sense of where those are going to.
Michael, unless you really wanted Sovereign of the North, I'm going to take that.
No, that's the funniest choice for your day one character.
It is 100% the reason I'm taking it. Is like day one. Yeah, I'm on my path to being Sovereign of the North. That is is the vibe I want, and so
I think maybe I'll go with Firebug.
Pull in these little charts for you guys.
It's honestly incredible watching Mike just pull everything in so effortlessly into
yeah.
this. You can tell that this is like a layout genius
I
here.
really should have been showcasing what was happening, but I had to zoom in really far on our thing. So yeah, we had nothing before, and now we have all the things and everything in its place, and uh, Figma is cool, and I like Figma. That's what I'm gonna go on record with it.
There we go. More brand
Figma,
promotion.
reach out to me about that sponsor money.
With that said, we've got the characters pretty much done. The only thing that we need to fill out here is for Michael's character. We just need to know what family member you're attached to. So I'm going to give a quick overview of the family itself here. And I am going to read, and I'm going to make it sound like I'm speaking impromptu, but I have already told you that I am reading. At this crossroads in its illustrious history, the manor is inhabited by 6 immortal beings related to the Claus lineage. We are just going to be playing with 4 today to hopefully give folks a bigger showcase of what the game does as it progresses. That said, there is, of course, Santa and Gertrude, the lord and lady of the house. The Clauses have sworn to foster prosperity and joy among humans, with Santa distributing gifts to the world's children, and Gertrude sort of manages the operations behind the scenes. Normally, Santa and Gertrude have 2 adopted children on their way to taking up the mantle someday. We have Yolnir, who is a bit like, if you know Turn of the Screw, it's kind of a mix of that sort of the Innocence Turn of the Screw. I think it's William in the Innocence. That type of like little boy character mixed with the ghosts of Christmas future and past and all of that type of thing. We also have Kringla, a teenage woman who is discovered in the woods with a bit of a feral habit still in her. This character that you see on my mantle is effectively what she is. And then there are also some members of the Morose clan. They're sort of the immortal beings have separated into, some of them are in charge of prosperity and the growth of the population, that type of thing, making sure that everyone is joyful and festive. And then the other half are the defenders of humanity against the armies of evil. The Moroses have come to the manor and are staying with the Clauses because Dead Morose, the former general of the North, has retired from military service, and his daughter Snegorochka will someday take over his role, but he's brought her to get some culturing among the Clauses. And each of these family members is developing a peculiar trouble as they explore the darker sides of their power and cunning. And your task, aside from maintaining the order of the manor, will be to quell these troubles before they plunge the manor into total chaos. So we'll learn about them in a little bit more detail as we come about them. But that is the overview of who we have in play. So we are going to have Santa, Gertrude, aka Mrs. Claus, Kringla, and Dead Morose. Michael, is there one that you would like to be skilled with?
I think
Perfect.
the military thing means that I have to have come along with Dead.
Love it. Let's introduce these characters. Does that sound good, Tony? You're kind of in charge of the stream
No,
show.
I've literally handed the
Feel
reins
like
over to
that's-
you. I am in charge of technical matters and running a character at this point in time.
I'm the reindeer, not the deer with the reins, or am I both? I guess
You are both. And
all right. Let's introduce the characters. Amanda, introduce us to Carol.
Carol Cornelius, pronouns she, her. She is a chauffeur for the Clauses. She has been around for a few months or so, just sort of learning the ropes of the house, getting used to the area. Whether or not she knows a lot about cars, well, it doesn't really matter because this is the North Pole. Where are you going to drive? So yeah, I think that's really all I've figured out about her. The rest of it I'm going to learn in play as we go.
And your holiday spirit is,
Oh, my
as
holiday spirit.
someone who's been here for a few months, is at 2, which means that your spirit trouble is, for earworm, is such. Every time you speak, it must be in the melody of a Christmas carol.
I have a whole list of Christmas carols ready to go.
This is hard mode. Not all of them are as hard as you will see as this, but Amanda is, going to test this very fun and silly one out for us.
I mean, the character name is like, it's foretelling the future. It's literally Christmas Carol.
Nominal determinism.
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
I was thinking. For once.
Michael.
I would like to introduce everybody to Butterworth Stavely. That was as far as I got in my character design last night, pre-stream, was I searched 19th century fiction protagonists and stole this name from Mark Twain. Butterworth is a he, him. He has been the butler here at Claus Manor for a few years at this point. Came on board in the train of Dead, having been a military conscript, where he learned all about the importance of mud and uniformity. Unfortunately, over the years, the holiday spirit has been starting to get to him. It's a little bit daffy at this point. Spirit trouble. Fire is so delightful is at a level where the voices in the fire, they speak more clearly to me when valuable things are burning.
Sounds about right. And Tony.
Yeah, I am playing as Thaddeus Probus. I am the recently hired valet here at Claus Manor. I was brought in. I've got some got a little bit of a gift of gab. Fairly good at small little things that people need. Specifically, putting on a good show, how to present yourself in a way that helps people understand what you're all about, what your thing is. A little skilled in tailoring, some accessories. I did spend some time, as a clergy person, but it's my first day here. I'm sure I'll pick things up. One of the things I do know is that, I'm meant for something more, and something has led me here. And so obviously, this is a place that I am meant to be, and it is a place in which my importance and true self will be fully revealed. I am sure, because I am my spiritual sovereign of the North. My ego often gets better of me. I'll assert that I am better than the rest of the staff, even though it is, again, my first day. Yeah.
And just a note for folks on the spirit troubles is that these are going to fluctuate, and they are going to get worse or better depending on where everyone is in relationship to their holiday spirit.
Love it.
Any questions on the characters before we start jumping into the setting and the game itself?
I did pick my character just based on who had the best and most pronounced facial hair out of all your and I'm not gonna lie, all of these images, I was a little bit disappointed in the options. This guy is doing fine. This individual that I picked for my picture, they're doing fine in the facial hair category, but not as good as I would like, especially for servants of the Claus Manor. I'm gonna go ahead and lay it out there. I'm already a little let down.
I hear stretch goal.
It's possible that Santa doesn't like people to compete with him in the facial hair category.
That he's probably trying to keep me down. I understand I am very important, but I did hear stretch goal. But also Mike and I have talked not about a stretch goal, but an add-on. So if you are wondering, will there be beard balm? Yes.
Will there be strap-on false beards for those who
that's a
cannot
great
wear
question.
Ooh.
We'll come back to that. I don't have any questions beyond that or comments.
Cool. Well, then let's begin our story. In this story, it's the dawn of the 20th century. Amid foreboding war and festering industry, the North Pole reaches a breaking point. A lavish lifestyle, generational torch passing, and the demands of an exploding world population push the inhabitants of Claus Manor to embrace dark and arcane forms of the holiday spirit. All too quickly, the manor will become the epicenter of Bedlam. Unbeknownst to most of our world's inhabitants, there might never have been a Christmas again, if not for the patience and cunning of the Claus family servant staff, unsung valets of joy and Gemütlichkeit in the thick of winter. And so here you are, days before Christmas, and all through the house, everything stirs and strange things are roused. Here we go. So as we dive into this, we're just going to kind of like set up the setting, sort of understand who you are as a servant crew, what your relationship is with the manor. So we're going to do just a round of questions here. And I'd like you to help me if we can zip over to the map if you like. First, I'd like to know what we talk about when we talk about the manor. So I will assign each of you a question and then we'll come back around for your answers to those things. Amanda, we'll start with you. Your question is going to be, which rooms are connected by a not so secret passage and how is it opened? I should start calling you by your character names too.
I mean,
Butterworth.
we were all thinking it, and so.
Butterworth. Let's go with. Oh, as a fire is so delightful individual. In which room did a fire recently get out of hand? Whose careless behavior supposedly caused it? And then finally, Thaddeus. Which room do the elves sneak into when everyone is tucked in their beds? What evidence of their trespass have you found? Just a little note about the sort of like architecture and the layout of the facility here is that there's a main portion of the manor, and then there are quarters where the reindeer, that epic squad that includes Dasher and Dancer and Donner and all of those characters, share this other building with the servant staff. The kitchen's there as well, the sleigh house, all of those kind of things are there. So these structures are connected together underneath the manor in deep within caves that there's only a secret entrance that leads in to here that only the elves can pass through, are the workshops. So none of you have ever been to the workshops. None of the Claus family has ever been to the workshops. There is a head elf. His name is Pharrell, who sort of like manages the relationships between the elves who are working underground at building all of this with the Claus family. And potentially you run into him as the servant staff. And yeah, so just the general idea of the setting there and how it all fits together. With that, let's come around to Carol. Tell us about this secret passage.
So there is actually a secret passageway between Santa's bedroom and the main kitchen. In Santa's bedroom, it's pretty infamous that he keeps taxidermied reindeer that previously had pulled his sleigh. When they pass on, he has them taxidermied and placed in his bedroom so that he can feel protected by them all of his nights when he's sleeping. One of the reindeer, one with a reddish kind of nose, that's how you know which one it is. When you feed that reindeer a cookie into its slightly opened mouth, it triggers a trap door underneath the reindeer that you can slide down like a slide into the main kitchen, right into the cookie cabinet.
It's gotta be tough
I love it.
Get back up that slide.
Yeah, Santa shimmies up chimneys. I think he can do it.
Keeps him fit in the off season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's got that gecko grip on both sides to work his way back up.
When he's not wearing gloves, you can actually see the little stickies that he's got on his fingers. but nobody is allowed to talk about that, so I'm not going to.
All right. Butterworth, our firebug. Tell us about the fire that may or may not have been caused by you, at least by rumor.
There was a fire in the servants' quarters. It's like it was some relatively new technology. The servants have in previous years been told to just make do with blankets and quilts, but we tried to install something new, some little heating elements where you could put somewhat live cherries of coals. But somehow something important fell in there. So there were tears about some lost romantic letters that had been tied together with string belonging to one of the servants. And the hank of hair was the worst part of it. The smell still lingers in the servants' quarters. Unknown how it fell in there, but it probably is worth noting, or Butterworth did note, that Yolnir has taken an interest in mastering the new technologies of the house. So he had been asking a lot of questions about it up until that date. So if anyone likely had something to do with it, it was probably that little know-it-all.
Of course, it had to have been a family member and not anyone on the servant staff that was tied up in this.
That might have been hearing voices telling them to destroy something of great value. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Even if that happens, I think that's the least likely suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Thaddeus.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about these elves? Where do they seem to be sneaking around to?
So, I'm brand new. You know, like I just it's my first day. I came in last night. I dropped my bags off. I was pretty dead tired. I did, as I was passing between kind of the main house and I did bump into an elf who did invite me to come hang out with him and some friends. Just for good times, just to meet people, get the lay of the land, in the storage and shop. Was a good round of cheer had by all? Absolutely. Did we still make sure we were going to get to bed on time? And whether these people belong here or not, I don't know. I'm new. It's my first day. I hadn't even technically started yet. Now, I did make sure I was in bed at midnight because it's my first day. And so at midnight, obviously, it's a new day.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be, I'm liable then. But anything that happened before that and anything that's gone missing in the process and any valuables in storage that were gotten into and libations that were, I don't know anything about that because it's my first day.
The challenge with staying up late at Claus Manor, obviously, is Santa knows when you've been sleeping or when you're
Which
awake.
is why by the time I was employed, I was sleeping
right at midnight.
Right at midnight. Laid down, closed my eyes. I'm one of those folks. Just I can just eyes closed, I'm out. Especially after a good gathering in the storage shop.
Cool. So there are a bunch of these questions, and normally could go a couple rounds, maybe 2-3 rounds on it. But for the interest of time, we're going to move on to the next set of questions, which is what we say about the people. Carol, a critical one for you. What about the last dismissal of a staff member convinced you never to fall to the same fate? What about that dismissal convinced you, I'm never going to lose this job? And then for Butterworth, let's grab who is rumored to have buried a body somewhere on the estate? And for Thaddeus, who do you suspect is a bit of a thief? What valuable thing are you sure they're hiding somewhere? While you all think about that, kind of talk through the mechanics of the system. We have a little deck of cards. There's going to be, with the Kickstarter, a custom deck of cards that you will be able to get that has Brian Sago's wonderful art, which is much better than the placeholder AI art within the Character Keeper. We'll probably see some of that. But you can also just play with a regular set of playing cards. You're just going to pull a few face cards out. And then you're essentially drawing those to determine which family members have troubles at which times. One of the other characters that's involved, we mentioned Pharrell, the head of the elves, is floating around. And sometimes when that character is drawn, it gives the servant staff another little avenue to address their problems beyond their own mortal means. We will potentially, hopefully, see a little bit of that today as well.
I will say Brian's art also much better facial hair. Also, Brian, much better facial hair than AI also too. As a general rule, AI has real shit facial hair. And so
he has hands-on experience with facial hair, all of the elaborate woodcuts and art that will be in here, as well as we're digging into the archives of periodicals from this period of time and pulling out strange ads, or ads that were probably not strange at the time, but certainly seem that way to us, like giving suspenders to people for the holidays.
Yeah. If you're in the Gauntlet Discord, you've probably been able to see some of the pictures of Brian posting. We'll post them in the +1 Discord, also at ttrpg.link/Discord, and we'll probably have some in an update on the campaign, probably right off the rip. Like I may just drop an FAQ with here's a bunch of cool pictures of Brian and weird things he has messaged us while etching these things also too.
He's already made a blood sacrifice.
The cover is currently a collage from public domain images, and Brian is redoing the main character of that as a 2-foot tall wood carving that will be a print, and it's stunning in progress. And he has cut himself, as of today, was his first drop of blood into the wood carving. So there has been sacrifice that has been put into the artwork for this as well. Yeah, not just any sacrifice, blood sacrifice. But that said, speaking of sacrifice, Carol, tell us about this most recent dismissal of a staff member.
So there was a maid that was working at the manor. I don't know her name. She was around before I got here. I've only been around for a few months. But when she was dismissed, she just disappeared. All of her stuff gone. Now, the story is she just left, right? That's easy enough. However, there are whispers in the household. The whispers of old stories of Santa Claus when children back in the day were naughty. He would whisk them away to the North Pole to be put to work in the workshop as his slaves. And there's been noises from the vicinity of the workshop that sound an awful lot like the sobs and screams of this maid. Or so I've heard. I've never heard this person speak or talk, so I'm just going by hearsay. Don't,
This is just like staying in a haunted hotel, right? And not seeing any ghosts. But
the joke here, listeners, is that I stayed in a hotel the other day that was supposed to be haunted. I didn't see or hear a single ghost, which is fine. Whatever.
Isn't it the case if you stay at a haunted hotel and you don't see the ghosts, you are the ghost?
I don't think so. You
Isn't that
can see
the
me
same?
right now. So
I've
that's a
seen
ghost
that
of a
movie.
bad one.
One of those Ringu ghosts that only appears in Twitch streams.
I mean, have any of you ever seen me in real life?
Yes. All three of us have seen you in
Yes.
real life.
True.
Never mind.
But not in
But
the
for
last
the
few
rest
months.
of you.
Yeah. Who knows what's happened since then?
Butterworth.
Right. Who is rumored to have buried a body? It's Buttersworth. Butterworth has this terrible tendency when he gets angry to sometimes convince people to just do their jobs in the house by screaming, I will bury you in the back garden. So the rumor is that he's probably done it at least once, but of course he would never. Not when bodies burn so beautifully, like cordwood, if prepared properly. Burying is what we do to trash. People are not trash. But sometimes their work habits are trash, and they should do better.
Great. I'm just jotting these notes down as little stickies so that we can track them and interplay with them as we go along. Thaddeus.
Yeah. So it's my first day. And
So we've heard.
I don't want to cast dispersions on anyone, right? Like, I mean, you don't want to start. You kind of want to figure out the pecking order. You want to figure out who's on the in, who's on the out, and you don't just want to say things that could get someone in trouble just for the sake of getting them in trouble. But I do know that when I was picked up from the Polar Express's remote station and driven towards the house, I've ridden in a appropriate era model of vehicle before, and I know how high they should ride off the ground, right? Even in the deep snow that we had to get through in a couple areas. And I will say that car was riding lower than it should have, especially the trunk end of the car. And I was going to say it felt pretty weighted down, and I'm pretty sure Carol's just been stealing stuff. And what better way to deflect questions about what you're doing than having a delightful sing-song melody in your voice? Like, somebody who talks that way, I can't imagine that that's real. That's gotta be a fake put on to be like, obviously they're not somebody who's stealing. They're basically singing all the time. I mean, it's an obvious deflection.
Stealing joy from every moment, maybe. Gosh.
I mean, I like to add joy to every moment, but if you want to steal joy from every moment, that's fine.
Just a little follow-up question. Have those rumors gotten to Carol?
I mean, I just started them and it's my first day. So
Carol, have those rumors gotten to you on this Thaddeus's first day?
I don't think I've met Thaddeus yet.
I mean, you drove me in.
Okay.
Aside from, but I don't talk to you
Okay.
when you're driving you.
I'm very low on the totem pole. I'm not worth it.
You're just the hired help at that point. Got it. And then coming around, I'm going to ask the same question of Butterworth. Have the rumors of your evocative way of disposing of people gotten to you?
Oh, sure. Some people have told me that they take it literally when I tell them that I will bury them in the back garden. And that's good. I want them to take that literally and change their behavior. So I'm aware that that's a rumor that's out there, and I use it to my benefit.
Who's in charge of HR at the Claus?
Probably Gertrude.
If you follow me to the garden, I could introduce you. Get back to work.
And then I guess Thaddeus, it is your first day, but Butterworth, you've been around here for a while. Have either of you heard the supposed sobs and wails of the maid who was recently dismissed through the vents that lead down below?
That's just how elves talk. When elves talk, it sounds like sobbing.
Yeah.
It is
So you've
nothing
probably
to worry
told
about.
Carol, and yeah, okay.
Carol did mention it, not to me because they wouldn't talk to me, but as we were getting there and they were checking in, or they were putting the car in, and another important person in the house on the serving staff was coming. Who's the mechanic? Whoever helps and assists with small repairs. They were talking, and Carol definitely said it loudly and mildly threateningly to me. Like not to me like directly, but like to the other person, obviously indicating I better watch myself.
Superb. So now we've got a good a good sense of how you all fit into this place, what we know, what some of these odd quirks are, before we leap in with the family itself. Are we ready to begin our adventure? All right. Let's start out. Ooh. So on this day, a special note on because of this first draw that Pharrell is up from the workshop, and you have potentially seen them wandering around, perhaps dealing with some business with Santa. Pharrell, of course, the Prince of Elves, the boss of the workshop. This is the only elf that has ever shown their face to any of the human or immortal inhabitants above ground here. You do, with Pharrell in play, you'll have an option that you can seek help from Pharrell for any of your particular tasks. He will, however, demand in helping you with their magical underworld capabilities, that collaboration will have a cost. So there will be some effect to you if you seek that help, but very powerful, very helpful. Just let us know, and I'll provide a reminder that that's available to you as well as we go. Carol. You are in the kitchen, in the servants' quarters, and you see that little bell, that little summoning bell pop up or start ringing. And for whatever reason, you're the one who takes that up. You are headed to the gallery, is where you've been summoned. And you arrive, and the gallery is a hush room with empty frames lining every wall. The wallpaper is mustard yellow with black fawns capering between silhouettes of trees. Only one painting remains in place. It's a portrait of Lord Santa Claus, shirtless and reclining, drinking from a wineskin with grape leaves in his hair, in the style of Bacchus, god of wine and revelry. A question, help us paint the scene of the gallery. What scandal or tantrum led to the removal of all the other paintings in the gallery?
We've already established that Santa doesn't want anybody else to have nicer facial hair than he does in the house. I think that's basically what happened. Is this new staff member showed up, and there were whispers of nice facial hair. Santa, in his cups of mead, I'm sure, or milk and cookies, whatever Santa drinks. I don't know. I've only been here a few months. I don't like hang out with the guy. I think, yeah, he threw a fit one day, and he stormed into the gallery, noticed that there were other paintings of other people that indicated they might be able to grow nice facial hair. So he tore them all down. Just real weird machismo shit, you know?
Yeah. And as you walk into the gallery, you see not Santa here, but his elderly half-brother, Dead, who has a beard, or could grow a beard that might rival Santa's, but has probably cut some like odd bits out just to make sure that it is flawed and imperfect in a way that the lord of the house would not be threatened by. But you see him sitting in a chair in the gallery with this giant painting of the shirtless lord of the manor behind him. And he kind of chuckles as you walk in and says, "Oh, Carol, I did not know who would be coming, but such a fine soul you are, and I'm so glad that someone like you could come and assist me with this particular problem that I'm having."
Behind my back, I have a cigarette, a half-lit cigarette that I had been smoking and didn't put out. And I think I just sort of, as I close the door behind me, I lean the cigarette up against the door to put it out against the door and then just drop it on the floor in hopes
Carol,
that he didn't
no
notice.
need. You and I are tight, right?
I suppose we are. We are so tight. What do you need? I can help you.
Oh, I do love how much the holiday spirit has taken you. Feel free to grab that little butt that you have on the ground and light it up. I, as you can see, I am sharing in the activity, and he has a pipe that he's smoking. One of the things that you know about Dead is that he was the general of the North, and he has retired and he's come here. What we know as players, he tends to be one of the friendliest of the bunch as well. Sort of Santa's like red. What do you call that? Whatever coat with the white furry stuff. I mean, what Michael is wearing is matched by Dead, but in blue. And he does have appears battle marred, but is very friendly. Like he's got scars. He's just got this ghost of a left eye. But generally, like one of the friendliest of the Clauses when it comes down to it. And he says, "Do you remember the last time that we met in this location? And we spoke of the Baba Yaga."
I lean down and I pick up the butt and I straighten it out. It didn't go all the way out, so I don't have to relight it. It's fine. I'll just do a little cigarette CPR on it. And I step up to Dead and I say, gesturing to the smoke, "Oh, thank you, Dead Moros. I forgot I lit it. I remember Baba Yaga. That was weird."
Forgive me, I will not be partaking in this delightful tunage that you have. But yes, I'm glad that you remember. And you remember those nefarious woodland elves who allied with her, correct? It was the 12th and the 13th century. The battlefield was long and vast and snowy. The blue blood of those elves and my own people draping across the land. Me standing triumphant, the scepter of the North in my hand. You remember all of this, correct?
War is hell. War is hell. How did you survive?
I survived by pure gumption alone. And let me tell you, Carol, it is how we are going to survive today. You see, there is a new threat from the Baba Yaga.
What is the threat she poses?
That I will reveal in time. However, we are going to need weapons, and we are going to need ammo. I have been stocking some up, as you may have noticed. I'm not even entirely sure where it all is anymore. One problem that I'm having, I have wrapped a box of dynamite in festive wrapping paper, and it's hidden with the family's presents. Those presents were recently relocated. You can understand the problem here, especially with this new heating equipment that appears to be causing fires. We could be in quite a bit of danger if that festive box of dynamite were to get into the wrong hands, I suppose. I need you to find that box and bring it back to me. so that I can hide it again.
I tap my nose and say, "Oh, holy cow, the dynamite might explode. I'll find the box wherever it is.
And that
Dead, what kind of wrapping is it wrapped in? I need to know. So I lost the tune. The end.
It's festive. Like the severed heads of the woodland elves. But I can't remember the specifics. So with this is essentially your prompt, Carol. Your task is going to be to use your skills in order to you kind of come up with your plan here. So if there's a couple different moves in a traditional PBTA sense, we can smoosh them together and we'll do one roll. But come up with your plan for how you want to address this trouble that has been raised by Dead. And when we come back around to you, we'll get sort of your solution, and we'll roll and see what happens from there. Are there any other questions or pieces of information or clarity that you would like in just kind of like setting forth on this task?
How does dynamite work? Like, if it heats up, does it just explode? Or
Yeah,
So-
basically.
gunpowder?
Yeah, it does require a source of combustion. So just getting hot isn't great, but it's also not. It's not the end of the world. But if it got exposed to fire, like if somebody was just like lighting fire to feel better about things.
Luckily, there's nobody just lighting fires around the
Yeah,
house.
not a problem.
Hmm.
Old dynamite, depending on how long it's been there, does sweat out stuff that makes it not only combustible, but that it will, if it gets knocked hard enough, it just explodes. So nitroglycerin sweats out of dynamite as it ages. But as long as it's properly stored and cared for, you probably don't have to worry about that, right?
It's probably not old dynamite left over from the 8th or 9th century when he was fighting wood elves.
Yeah, and it's obviously been stored in a hermetically sealed Christmas package with some sort of festive wrapping.
It's fine.
Yep.
See, we're learning science.
It's my favorite part about playing RPGs is how does that work in the real world, and how does that apply to my dumb game logic?
Butterworth. Let's see where you end up. And perfect. Let's for you. Let's go to the Great Chamber.
Great.
Where you are summoned. The Great Chamber, to give you some details on this, a piano, a harp, a cello, and a dusty tambourine rest in the corner unattended. The well-polished black floor reflects electric lights mounted in the vaulted ceiling, giving the impression of walking among stars. In the center of the chamber, a tumbling pile of wrapped gifts. One of the gifts, as you enter the room, is trying to get away. Why is it having a difficult time escaping?
Only the legs have escaped from the bottom of the box. Perhaps whoever wrapped this particular gift thought it was cute because there do seem to be cutouts that allow for 4 furry legs to ambulate at the bottom of the present. But all other presents are remaining still as they should, and in the interest of propriety, this thing should also be sitting down and perhaps taking a nap. There's a time and a place for walking, and it's not when you have a big central gift display. Cannot stand a gift that does not know the importance of timing.
How are you responding to this gift that's trying to get away?
Oh, it's easy. All you have to do is stack up other heavier gifts on top of it. You just, try and find The important thing is to have a melange of colors so that the display that you put together both has weight and yet is still aesthetically pleasing and balanced, because you don't know
Yeah.
which way those four legs are going to push the present. And so you essentially have to create a miniature pyramid shape. It doesn't take very long to put together.
And as you're doing that, you hear from a corner of the room that you hadn't peered into because you had been distracted by this scurrying thing, and just assumed that that's why you had been summoned here. You hear a voice, the voice of a pleasant young lady with a proclivity for shiny fur coats. It's Claus. And she says, "Isn't that the way it always is, though? Taking freedom and stacking upon it the weight of the world."
Yes. And it's done well.
It's something that you must feel, Butterworth, being here, being trapped and not being free to roam about the snow and the woods, to scamper like the wild being that you truly are.
Not at all, madam. I've had my wood scampering time. I have, in times of starvation, gnawed on the bark of trees and attempted to make a soup out of my own spit. Those days are better left behind me. I am happy here in the fullness of employment.
Kringla has two conspicuous lumps of bone on her head that you know the family physician insists she'll grow out of. But out of earshot, some of the staff, maybe including yourself, refer to her as the feral one, and are convinced those lumps will actually grow into horns someday. Interestingly enough, she is holding a swaddling shirt that's soaked in honey and reads "naughty" on the front. And she says, "While we all do deserve to be free, there are some that have squandered their freedom. Don't you agree, Butterworth?"
Absolutely, ma'am.
"I have devised a discipline system for such individuals, and I need your assistance in testing it. Here, you see this, correct?
I do see
Soaked in honey. What does it say on the front here?
it. It says naughty, ma'am.
Capital letters, naughty. Correct?
That is true.
Now, look behind me." And she has cleared out the wall. And she says, "We are going to find some of the naughty ones, capital letters, put them in this shirt, throw them against the wall. They will stick there until they are sweet again." Brilliant, isn't it?
Checks out. Can't see how it would go wrong. Does the kitchen know that all of this honey has been rerouted from the making of cakes, cookies, figgy puddings, candies, peppermints, chocolates?
Oh, I would hope so, Butterworth. I would hope so.
Great. Glad to hear it. My concerns are allayed.
I am so glad that we see eye to eye on this. Let's get down to testing the mechanism.
Right. Well, I have been hearing rumors recently about someone who's been accused of stealing. Now, I don't know if it's true, and for the purposes of testing, it may not be important whether or not it's true. They would make an adequate test pilot, perhaps, for this initial outing of your new technology.
I agree. This is perfect. You are a smart one, Mr. Butterworth.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll go ahead and spend a duck and pass that off to Carol.
All right, Carol. You've got another thing to deal with here. But that said, we're going to come back around to Butterworth and get Butterworth a new task in a second here as well. But let's move on and give Thaddeus a little moment in the spotlight.
Let me put my milk and cookies down. I'm sorry.
Got to power up.
Thaddeus, you have been summoned to one of the most esteemed areas of the manor. This, in fact, is Santa's study. When you arrive,
makes sense of that I would be summoned there.
When you arrive, you walk in. There is a heavy wooden desk with a quill and an ink pot resting on a reindeer skin rug. There's a scale model of a sleigh in front of a hand-cranked fan, and a bunch of notes about wind shear and friction, along with sitting on this desk a diary that has a sign that says "Do not read" on its cover, and it is resting on the pressure plate of a bear trap.
Excellent.
In addition to a half dozen locks on the door, what other dangerous method is in place to prevent unauthorized entry into the study? You, of course, are authorized to enter.
There is, if you look on the window sills, there is a trip line that you can see goes all the way around the room. There is a giant polar bear that is hung from the ceiling that is kind of oriented towards the window. And in the edge of its mouth, you can see 3 crossbow bolts pointing out towards the window. So that if you were trying to come in not just through the door, but through the window and opened it, the line would release. And the crossbow bolts would fire out of the mouth towards anybody trying to egress or ingress into the study through that manner.
Is the bear alive?
Look, do you hear moans, low moans sometimes? Okay, let's just use a
Like
touchstone. Let's use a touchstone we'll all immediately understand. In the movie Hook, there's the crocodile at the end. It's theoretically stuffed with a clock in its mouth. However, at the end, it does eat Hook. You're getting a lot of that vibe from this giant polar bear. Like it is still, but could it eat you still, or does it make noises sometimes? Yes, it absolutely does.
Below the bear, behind the bear trap, is the Advent Cavalier himself, the one that the world has sung songs of mystique and praise for. It is Lord Santa Claus, the lord of this house, the bringer of gifts, a rotund old fellow with a dense bone white beard and spry eyeballs nested beneath a sagging brow. He's just larger than life. And as you walk in, like, you can smell him wherever he goes. He smells like sugar cookies and damp moss, of spiked eggnog and crushed rosemary. And he sees you, your eyes meet, and he says, "Oh, hello there, Thaddeus. So pleased that you have promptly arrived at this most dire of moments."
Greetings, Father Christmas. I appreciate your welcome onto the staff, into the household of your family.
It's been so long, Thaddeus. I really feel like we should catch up, but this may not be the hour or the minute for simple chit-chat.
There is much afoot right now. I've heard many things in the short time that I've been here.
Tell me, Thaddeus, what hour of what day would you say that it is at this moment? Perhaps I could use the year as well.
That's a great question. Do I this is there a canonical time in which we know this is right now?
We know that this is, for what it's worth, like sometime in the first decade of the 20th century, and it's probably December, but we're not that
Okay,
close.
we're not super.
We're nearing it, but it's not like
It is it is December 14th. About 5 o'clock in the what is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 1908.
1908. Would that be AD or BC, my dear friend?
That would be AD.
How does he know?
It's BCE. We're very cutting edge here in the
Something very big is going to happen in about 1900 years. What now?
that would be in the year of our Lord.
Perfect. I know this seems like an odd question. You may even be asking, oh, how would he know what BC is? Why would he even think that he could be Santa Claus at a time like that?
Oh,
but this is why I have summoned you.
My lord, I understand the needs and the desires of a larger than life figure such as yourself. I had no questions as such. I know many of your other servants probably have such questions when you ask. You will never have that experience with me. I know it's just my first day, but I expect that you've called me here because of the caliber of service you need that you are not currently receiving.
This is very true. Come closer, Thaddeus. Come closer. We cannot have that fellow, and he's sort of like gesturing at the bear, know of what we speak here.
They're like, grrr.
Watch the trap. Watch the trap.
And I can smell the sour milk on his breath as I lean in close. Yes, my lord. Yes.
I made a duplicate of myself.
Very wise. Very wise.
Yes, I could. With a duplicate, I could accomplish twice the number of tasks, right?
Mm-hmm, yes, at least.
But I have lost sight of this double. I'm going to need you to find him, convince him to stay put somewhere out of sight,
yes.
And then you come find me.
Excellent.
I'll handle the rest.
We could determine a passphrase so that I would know it was you and you would know it was me. But I think there may be a simpler way to resolve that this duplicate should be maybe savvy and keen as we know you are. Wouldn't necessarily catch on right away. Perhaps you could wear this, and I take out a small necklace with a silver sleigh bell on the end of it, and I'm like, if you wear this, then you and I will know that you are the original, and we won't have to worry of anyone else being aware of any of our behavior being odd or off about this.
You are a clever one. Yes, this is a brilliant idea. However, Thaddeus, there's a little catch with this. The worst part of Santa's request is this is the third Santa to approach you with this request today. And it's the third one because the little piece of memorabilia.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've given out a lot of knickknacks today. Yeah,
is not there. Each Santa is slightly different. And each one is believing themselves to be the true Lord of the Manor.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know the first one I talked to because it was the second one where I figured this out. Like that is.
Oh, that's fair. Yes, and you know that this one,
is not that one. So I know three out of the four I've got marked. The original one is still in the wild.
The original one could have been one of the ones that you marked as well, because they don't seem to remember what time that they're in, and apparently can exist believe they can exist at a time when they couldn't have existed as well. All of this is to say, there are duplicates of Santa around the house, and you're going to need to trap one or deal with this however you will. Couple quick notes as we'll come back around to Butterworth as well, with another request. As you're dealing with these, the biggest thing to go over some of the principles of play here is that you need to help. The Clauses need you. They need your help, obviously. You need them. You need to not lose this job. It is hard to get a job. As bad as things are here, as wild and weird as they are, it's stable employment, and it basically means your survival, whether you have this job or not. At least that's how it seems to you. So you would never want to just like blatantly foil their plans. But that said, you could kind of work to divert, change, mold that so that it's not as disruptive. You'll see some of the family members, especially as things escalate, tend to get to a point where you might not want to actually like embrace what they're doing. So anything that you can do to kind of distract them in some way, pull a little ruse, as long as that you're pretty sure that they won't detect and catch on to what you're doing. Amanda, you have 2 requests that have fallen onto you because one has been ducked onto you. So you do have that. Do you understand both tasks? There's a test that needs to happen of Kringla's thing. There is, oh my gosh, what was the other one? Dead.
The dynamite.
The box of dynamite.
Perfectly
if
stored,
you need
relatively fresh dynamite.
If you need help with any of those, Pharrell is available right now as well. You do have a duck token that you could push your dead task, the dynamite box, back to Butterworth, if you would so like.
Hey, what?
Or do you want to
Or
embrace
Thaddeus,
both
whatever,
tasks
yeah.
there?
I think I am going to... Yeah, I'm going to walk down the corridors of the manor, and I'm going to wave over one of the other staff that is not one of us and say, Dad just told me to find some gifts. There's one that might explode. It shouldn't get warm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you find Thaddeus and make him find it? Rum pum pum pum.
Rumpa pum pum. Dynamite going to Thaddeus?
I'm going to push the dynamite to Thaddeus.
All right, Thaddeus.
The new person,
So you have
it's their moment to prove themselves.
Somewhere in all of this, a servant that is not one of the 3 of you is also coming up and explaining. So I ran into Carol, and she did mention that there's, I see you're coming out of Santa's study here. There's another task on your plate.
I mean, of course there is. The Clauses would largely be lost without someone like me.
Something about dynamite wrapped up in festive wrapping paper, and wherever the family gifts are, get to that before it gets near fire, which obviously, since we still use candles on our Christmas trees, is going to be a little bit complicated.
Yes, dynamite. It's powerful. Yes, I no, of course, no problem. By the way, have you noticed anything off about Carol? Any? I mean, have you noticed that is she dressing maybe a little above her station? I noticed something of a brooch that was quite attractive, but didn't really seem to match the rest of the ensemble earlier.
did see that with the pearls, those red pearls.
Yes, it's very, very. I mean, breathtaking. Not a great choice with those shoes, but other than that, absolutely amazing. But just didn't seem like something that a servant would have. I was just asking if you saw it. No concern, but just
Curious.
yeah.
Very curious. This is something that I'm going to have to pay much closer attention to. I haven't seen a brooch like that worn by anyone but Gertrude Claus herself.
Oh. Maybe it was a memento, a token for a job well done.
Perhaps. Butterworth, speaking of Gertrude Claus, as you are perhaps with a little bounce in your step, headed away from the
Hold on, real quick. Is there lawn care or vacuuming happening for someone?
Yeah, it's in the background here.
That's fine. It was getting louder. You're good.
As you come out of the why did I lose where you were? The Great Chamber, with a little pop in your step. And I think you'll probably run into Carol as well, and give her this like honey covered not. Let me see that scene of you passing that off to her.
Carol? Hello?
Hello, Butterworth. How?
No, we don't need to do that. Here, I brought along something for you from Kringla. This is very important. Now, Kringla has a new system in place that she needs testing. We need a body to fill out this honey-soaked jacket so that it can be thrown against a wall. Now, I thought of all the people on staff that I could trust to take care of a task like this, that Carol, of course, you came to mind first. Now, I'm not saying that you yourself have to shrug yourself into this honey jacket and allow yourself to be thrown. No, you're a clever person. I'm sure that you can probably think of a body or body-shaped thing that could go into it. Or failing that, you could always shrug yourself into it and allow yourself to be thrown at a wall as a last desperate measure. But I knew that you would be the one that could figure this out.
Now, I think I've heard a story of something in the garden, possibly a buried body. Would you say there's something there?
No, of course not. You've probably heard, there's this fun little saying that I have with the rest of the house staff where if they're not meeting performance standards, I will sometimes lose my temper a little bit and say, I will bury you in the back garden. Carol, you in the back garden, your body moldering under the dirt. It's just a fun thing that I say to motivate people. And then, they deliver as they always do. And so there's no need to actually bury anybody in the back garden. There's no bodies back there. It's a fun thing we do.
So if I check the garden for some bodies, there won't be any back there, right?
I'm so glad that you picked up on this. There have been, certain members of the staff that I've had to explain this to over and over again, sometimes waking them up in the middle of the night to drag them out at 3 a.m. to the garden where I force them to kneel and face the dirt and tell them that there are no bodies under there. And we stay out there until they agree that it's impossible that anybody's buried out there. And only then are they allowed to go back to sleep. So we have an understanding.
We do have an understanding. Would you like a bit of moonshine? I pull out a little flask. I make it with the gasket carburetor in the air filters.
Oh, this is going to take me back. This is
At that moment,
back in the military.
At that moment, Gertrude Claus, Lady Gertrude Claus, kind of like bursts out of a door and looks at the two of you and says, "Stop lollygagging! We are weeks away from Christmas. You should be working. You should be handling whatever it is that you're supposed to be handling. We hire you for a reason. Mr. Stavely, please come with me." And you're being dragged down the hall by Mrs. Claus. She, as we've talked about, she's sort of the head of the operations. Like, she's the one who's all about business here. She has these sweet little button of a nose and rose speckled glasses, but clearly is glacier blue eyes. She is clearly all about business behind those glacier blue eyes. She does have kind of a warming presence, which is maybe something sort of endearing about her to you, the firebug. And as she pulls you down the hall, she looks at you and says, "Butterworth, you do know that I am a true believer in the postal system. The efficiency of it, the economy of it is quite remarkable. But I have learned today that they have made an error."
I understand. You'd like me to talk to the postal worker and perhaps tell him about our back garden?
No. Let's not go that far.
Okay.
We don't want the postal service to know where the bodies are buried, of course. We just want to... Yes, I did mean that metaphorically. You didn't need to do the quote thing.
I'm sorry. I learned it the other day, and so now I just find myself doing this gesture all the time.
Got it.
A lot of great things popping off in 1908. You know what? Air quotes being one of them.
Mm-hmm. It's the new it's in from Paris.
Speaking of air quotes and air mail, a large amount of mail is being delivered to the manor, I believe by mistake, addressed to Gertie Rainclaw's Charcuterie. These, of course, mixed with the thousands of begging letters from children. And I don't want the Lord of the Manor to be distracted by these mistakes by the Postal Service. So I am going to need you to sort through the drifts of mail that we have received out in the courtyard and pull from those haystacks of wishes and desires these envelopes, the ones that look like these. And she holds up this, this envelope that is addressed to Gertie Rainclaw's Charcuterie. So your task here will be to find all of that mail, separate it out, make sure that Santa it is not brought to Santa's attention. All right, we've got scenarios on the table. Does anyone want to volunteer their solution for the first level of trouble here?
Yeah, and just 1 second. Hey, welcome Neon Lights Roleplay. Thanks for raiding us. Glad to have you here with us. We're in the middle of our spooky week stream. You can tell that by the Santa Claus hat and reindeer horns bedecking the heads of some of us. We're playing the Wassailing of Claus Manor, which is a figgy pudding of great games mixed together. If you like Trophy Dark, Carve from Brindlewood, Bedlam Hall, or other games, but we're basically trying to keep this insane Claus family on track and prevent all the arcane and dark things they are doing from interfering with Christmas shortly after the turn of the last century as the serving staff. So Downton Abbey meets Rankin Bass, Christmas movies meets Haunting of Blythe Manor. Are there some of are those good touchstones I said?
Yeah. All those like Mike Flanagan type of horror-y things.
There we go. But very, very, very excited to be here. Yeah. I want to make sure I'm supposed to trap one of these things, correct? That is my.
You can kind of handle it however you want, but that is what Santa is expecting
Okay,
of
cool.
you.
Love it.
And we can talk a little bit through how we assemble a roll here. We are going to figure out if the way that you're solving the task uses your skills. That gives you a light die. We're going to provide, for those who are familiar with trophy, there is the system of devil's bargains. There, of course, is not a devil here quite yet. So we just call them twists in this. So we're going to suggest some twists. If you take a twist, you are able to add a light die. And then we'll determine if you are willing to risk a little bit of your soul to help accomplish this task. And that will give you dark dice. And depending on the roll, how that roll goes, what we want to see out of that pool of dice is hopefully a 6, which is a nice, clean, beautiful success where your plan goes off without complication. Just like in Trophy or I believe Blaze in the Dark works the same way. A 4 to 5 is going to be a mixed success. So it will succeed, but there's a complication. And I will present that to you. Or a 1 to 3 would be it's a failure and things are going to get worse. When things get worse, actually, we kind of fast forward in time and all of the family's troubles are going to move on to the next step. You have ways to sort of like, you have these things called spirit breaks, which we'll address if we get to them, which allow you to manipulate the results by sharing a little bit of your backstory. But yeah, so give us your plan, hopefully utilizing some skill that you have based on your occupation or background.
Does anybody have somebody got it locked and loaded? Amanda,
oh yeah, I got a plan.
You look very certain.
I
Got a
know.
plan.
Yeah.
All right,
Come on.
Carol is set.
I'm going to go out to the garden. I'm going to dig up one of the bodies that's in there. I'm going to go to Kringla. I'm going to tell Kringla that this person is very, very naughty. Yes, they're dead, but that doesn't take away their naughtiness. And it's actually
Love
even
it.
better because we can see how long a naughty person will stick to the wall. Because they're never going to become sweet. They died naughty. They're naughty forever.
Oh.
And they won't struggle.
I mean, logically, if they weren't naughty, they wouldn't be dead. Like, you cannot argue with that logic.
It's just
If they
logic.
weren't naughty, they wouldn't be buried in the back garden. That's just... Why else would they be back there?
We'll take that backhanded compliment. Yeah, everyone ended up in there deserved it.
Are your skills coming into play with this particular tactic?
I might have to use bluffing, depending on whether or not Kringla goes for it, and depending on whether or not anybody sees me with a dead body.
And I might suggest maybe it's a weekend at Bernie's situation here.
Oh, of course it is. Absolutely it is.
Yeah, maybe don't let on to Kringla that it's a dead body at all.
That's probably even easier, actually, than trying to convince Kringla that a dead body would stick longer, and that's a better test. Yeah, I think that's a much better idea.
Love it. Does anyone have a twist to suggest for Carol here? Some type of thing that will be true and perhaps not entirely ideal, regardless of the outcome of the roll.
Yeah. I mean, I think the good news is you found a body, like a whole body. The problem is it's two halves of a body that you've had to hastily stick together. So
Yeah, okay.
it is a very tenuous situation. And so you could tell Kringa and try to bluff your way through it, or you could not and just know that there is a chance this body, as soon as you are not touching it, is going to split in two.
I have a skill in repairs. I could probably make this work.
The one I was going to suggest would be that that rumor of you thieving is going to grow a bit, and now you're going to be rumored to be a grave robber.
Oh, that's very good.
Which there is very clearly evidence of. So that will be spreading amongst the household.
And people around the household will just be saying, "Die, grave robber, die."
Which is a Christmas game. So that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I like the split in two, but I love the grave robbing.
Grave Robber's real
so,
good.
Yeah, grave robbing's great. It's one of my favorite things.
Nice plug for another +1 EXP product.
Come on back in December for a zine club.
I like that we're doing the Christmas game in October, and yeah, it's great.
Look, we will probably release a lot of horror games over the next year. I'm not gonna lie.
So Carol, you've got 2 light dice here to try and get that 6 or 4+. Are you willing to risk a bit of your soul? You're a trophy dark player, so I think you understand how the dark dice work. It's the same mechanic here as it would be otherwise.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. I will. So I get 1 light for my plan because it
Mhm.
uses planning. I got the 1 light for the twist, and then I have a dark
Mhm.
die for risking my soul. Is what soul is it is? Is what it is?
Yep, a little bit of your soul. Yeah.
All right.
So
Yeah,
basically, if the
grave
dark
robbing,
die
but-
is the highest, then your holiday spirit is going to go up if that value is higher than your holiday spirit.
Oh God, I really don't want my holiday spirit to go up. But okay. I got a 4 dark.
4 dark. Cool. So describe for me, obviously this is going to work with some success. Give me something to play off of here. Talk through how you are testing the system for Kringla for us. Narrate a little bit.
Well, it's easy enough to get to the back garden and dig up bodies. There's always a shovel there ready to go, due to the fact that there's some really stringent rules on whether you're naughty or nice as staff here and what you're doing. So yeah, I dig up the freshest looking spot because I think that one would probably stink the least amount. When I dig it up, I do notice that they are this body does have some nice jewelry, so I do make sure that I take that for safekeeping for when I put the body back, of course, and I put that in my pocket. I heft this. I'm a pretty strong woman, because I'm a fake chauffeur. I gotta look like I know what I'm doing with cars and look like I know, how to lift the hood and stuff like that. Um, so I heft the body up. It's lighter than I expect because it doesn't have a lot of stuff in it anymore. A lot of it's sort of moved its way out of the body into the ground. I think I'm probably going to put my coat on the body so that it doesn't stink so much and it's not quite as obvious that I just took it out of the ground. And then me and my new friend are going to walk through the manor, wave at some people
Uh-huh.
if we need to. We're going to have a conversation the whole time as we go. The conversation's a little one-sided, but it's okay. I can keep it up. When we get to the room that Kringla is in, I get my, to make it look really real, I get my friend to knock on the door. Before we step in, I open it, of course. And I say, "Oh, I have a question about Spirit Trouble.
Yeah.
Do they stack?"
Do they stack? Is this an escape for you, or is it a...
I'm wondering, do I still have to talk in the melody of Christmas carols? Because now that I have a holiday spirit of 3, since I rolled high dark, my earworm
I
is
think
now
it is
you
a
can't
shift.
understand if they don't respond. You can't understand others if they don't respond in the tune of a Christmas carol.
Yep. So it shifts. So you
Okay.
no longer... This is a nice zone for you to get a little relief from singing.
I was
Now
running out of
everyone
songs.
else is going to have to sing to you if they want you to understand. So, yeah.
Kringla, ma'am, I heard you needed some help. Me and my friend, I'm gonna look at this body and just say, Bodhi are here, and Bodhi waves to help out with your new naughty or nice test. They've been helping me in the garage. They're very handy.
He certainly smells naughty, Carol.
Oh, he's very naughty. he said like 4 curse words on the way up here. I made him promise not to say a single word to you, though.
4. You know what happens with a 5th, don't you?
Oh, I do. Right into the back garden.
You are a lucky one, sir. And she like taps him, and like her finger probably even like goes into his flesh a little bit.
I sort of flip my arm a bit so that because when she gets tapped, you know, his head sort of falls back, and I flip my arm so his head falls forward a little bit more.
You are so naughty. This
He's
honey
real
is a
naughty.
delicious fit for him, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit of sweetness. You don't seem to understand anything that I'm saying to you, Carol.
I absolutely agree.
All right, well, do the thing. Let's test this out.
And Bodhi waves.
Carol, do the thing.
Bodhi does this. Do you want me to put the shirt on him now?
Yes, Carol, do the thing. On to the...
What?
I know, I explained this to your compatriot. I want them to stick to the wall and until they become not naughty.
I'm just gonna put the shirt on the guy. You know what? You're a young lady. You probably shouldn't see a bare-chested man. I think you should probably turn around, and just face the wall. Close your eyes just for a few minutes while I get his shirt changed over. Just to maintain your innocence.
Brilliant, brilliant. And she kind of like holds up. That's what I was doing. Is like she's got this fur coat on, and she kind of like uses that as like blinders on either side as she turns around.
I just let Bodhi drop, and I, you know, very hurriedly take this really gross, sticky, because I've been out digging graves, so now it's full of dirt and all kinds of gross stuff.
Yeah.
And I sort of just very not gently bring it over his head. This is kind of how I fix cars too, so it's sort of the same method, I think. Just shove it until it gets into the right spot and clicks. In this case, there's no click because everything's too gooey. But once we have the shirt on the body, just going to scoop him back up. I'm very mad right now that I didn't take my coat off of him before I did this.
Ooh, yeah.
But that's okay. We've got to keep going. We've got to keep going. And I pick Bodhi up and I just sort of push him towards the wall.
And the second that the body like slaps onto the wall,
you're mispronouncing his name.
Like,
Bodhi.
Bodhi.
As soon as the Bodhi, the sound of the Bodhi bodies, sticks to the wall. Kringla can't resist anymore, and she turns around and is just like, "Joy to the world!
It
the
worked!
Naughty are done."
You did it! Brilliant, brilliant plan, Kringla. Look at this. Wow, he's gonna stay up there for ages. He might die up there.
As you say that, Thaddeus is walking by, and perhaps peeks his head in. Thaddeus, I have some tragic news for you.
Okay.
The complication from our grave robbing friend. You recognize Bodhi the body.
Do I recognize him from somewhere specifically, or are you asking me to narratively?
Yeah, from your life.
Yeah.
Who is Bodhi the body?
Look, this is my first day this time around. This isn't my first stint at at Claus Manor. I came here
Whoa.
before I entered seminary. I came here on an outbound excursion. There was a request in the late 1800s from the Claus family for a chaplaincy. I was thinking about seminary. I decided to come out this way because I've always felt an affinity for the North. It just feels like I belong up here. And Bodhi was the other potential chaplain that they had sent up here, and since I had no formal seminary training, just a real desire to share good news and bring peace and joy to those around me. It was well appreciated, but I was a much younger individual at that point in time, not wearied down by the world. But Bodhi is the one, because of his formal theological training, who got picked. But we did spend a great 2 weeks up here at the Claus Manor before I was dismissed and went back home, really driving me to enter and become a full clergy person, at least for a time. And I recognize this as the dead body of dead Bodhi, the previous chaplain to the Claus Manor.
I'd like to just hear like what your response to seeing Bodhi, the dead chaplain, slapped to a wall covered in honey with the words naughty in all capital letters attached to him. And then I would love to find how you address either dead or Santa's trouble here.
I should probably feel bad, but that asshole probably deserved it. I mean, the spot should have been mine, and now that I'm back, I can reclaim the spot that always should have been mine. So I have no problem with this. There's a deep sense of satisfaction within me. Seeing his body limp hanging there. Obviously he was not able to do his job correctly. And otherwise, why would he be in the garden? Why would he be wearing a honey-soaked naughty shirt?
That's the clauses are just.
Yeah.
What goes on here is stern but fair.
Let's see. My options are either find the dynamite, which I don't have a good lead mentally on yet, and or to capture a Lord Claus.
Trap a Santa.
At least one of them, which I do. I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it takes long of wandering around the manor for me to find my fifth Claus for the day. Do you want me to determine where that is, or do you want to pitch a location?
You could decide. Yeah, feel free to. If you want to pick a previous place or a new place or whatever the case is.
I think I'm going to go up onto the second floor, in an area where some might question whether I should be there, whether it's right for me to ascend to the second floor without direct invitation. But I am on a mission from the Lord of the manor. I think I'm going to go to Santa's. Oh no, sorry, the first floor. I'm going to go to Santa's bedroom.
This is the second floor. There's a not so secret passage here that you may be aware of if you have been in conversation with Carol or remember from your previous time here. As you walk in, 4-post bed, gauzy curtains sparkling with patterns of frost and snow. There's a heavy wooden chest at the foot of the bed, secured with a heavy padlock. And there's a leather paddle with the word, callback almost, naughty in all capital letters stitched into its face. It's tucked beneath a pillow. You can kind of see it creeping out. What sounds from the house can be heard in this room that could interrupt peaceful sleeping?
Right now, it is there is the sound of cleaning up from the midday meal and preparation of the evening meal, coming from a reindeer's head on the wall. That is mildly distraction, but I don't know that would disturb a night's sleep unless you were taking a nap during the day. should probably be fine. I think what is odd is the noise that we hear as I kind of walk into the room. Is each of the floorboards creaks at a slightly different tone, and if you walk across them at just the right speed, it plays a nascent version of the one-day pop hit "Santa Claus is Coming to Town." If you walk across them at the right speed.
The secret origin story of
Santa Claus is Coming to Town. But whether it's a security system, whether it's just an old house, who knows? But yes, I do. I think I come upon a Santa in this space, Lord Claus, Lord of the Manor, getting out of bed and starting to prepare themselves for the day. They seem, I think, that same befuddled, kind of lost in time appearance, probably woken up by the noise coming from the kitchen, cleaning up the midday meal. But now I have to remember what Santa goes. You hear whatever, however Santa Claus is coming to town goes. That's
how it goes.
My lord.
See, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, I didn't ask for it. My lord, I've been sent to help you dress for the day. You probably remember we had discussed upon my hiring, potentially doing a new fitting, potentially looking at some slightly different accoutrement to bring you into the more modern look of a 1900s Santa.
Oh, I do love the modern fashion. Sorry, just a little days. I woke up from a nap.
Yes, you work so hard. I feel like people just don't understand how hard you work.
Could have slept for 1,000 years.
At least.
2,000, 4,000 maybe, who knows.
If only you had help. If only you had help. Well, I have some ideas that I'd like to workshop. Let's start with kind of a few base, and I'm going to start like pulling out. I've got a little sewing kit. We pull out his normal dress, some other items, some trinkets I've brought with me. And I start to kind of go through the process of dressing him. There's a couple of normal, like, hey, let's look at these, let's look at that. 50 different shades of dark, bright red that we could look at. Some with some modern patterning and other things like that. But what I'm also doing is slowly, bit by bit, every time we try on a new thing, it's a tighter and tighter outfit. Just a little bit. Just so that he doesn't quite notice, and I can every single time kind of assure him, oh no, that is again that modern clean line look we're going through has a little bit of a tighter fit to it. We'll check for mobility when we're done. But by the time I finally get the belt around him, it is a suit that this Santa cannot move in. And I Lord, just so you know, the best way to really let this get perfectly formed to your body is just to let it caress you and to lay here on the bed for another 8 to 12 hours. I mean, you are so tired.
He just like flops. Like, I think like just the suggestion of that, like he just like a mighty timber falling backwards, just flops under the bed and boom. And maybe that's even why you see the naughty paddle, is that like it bounces out of the bed and plop, plop, plop onto the floorboards.
And I win. I win the game. That's it. Good job, Tony.
Okay, so we've got tailoring. Will this successfully trap him for whoever the real or the one with the silver brooch that we attached to him,
or another one who asked me to do the same thing. It's all good.
We definitely have tailoring in play here.
Yeah, and you can only
do
get
we
one light
have-
dice. There's no reason to try to
Correct.
bring multiple skills to bear, right? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, narratively for the fun of it, for sure. But yeah, as far as the mechanics of it, we are good. Anyone have any twists in this particular situation? Yes.
No matter what happens, the actual Santa takes a liking to this new, super snug, non-mobility version of the suit, which is going to make his and everybody else's life harder going forward.
I was literally going to say the same thing.
Well, I love it. I think that's great. I think a slow moving, barely mobile Lord Claus is what we all desire. And so that's and if I sell a piece of my soul, walk me through what happens.
You add a dark die, and then the risk of having a dark die in the roll is that if that die is the highest die, yeah, great. If it succeeds, and we don't create a ton of danger for everyone. But if it is the highest, your holiday spirit is going to go up. Your holiday spirit is 1, so it's if that dark die is higher than the amount of holiday spirit you have, and so this being your quote unquote first day, it will almost invariably be higher than that.
But I'm running that risk either way because I'm rolling a dark die if we take the twist, right? If I accept the twist, we're rolling.
The twist is a light die.
Twist is a light die. Okay.
Yep. And you could also just say, I'm not going to risk any of my soul here. If the roll fails, you do have the option to add a dark die to the roll.
Yeah, and re-roll, right?
And roll again.
Okay, cool.
So it doesn't necessarily hurt to, in this type of situation.
It's more fun if I get more insane. That's fine. We're gonna go ahead and be willing to risk some of my soul.
All right.
We got a 2, a 6, and a 6.
Nice.
So one of those 6s would have been a light die either way. So does it matter? What happens? So I'm good.
One of them, so it's a equal or higher is on the dark die.
Okay, then no matter what, one of them is also a dark die, and so
yes. So you've got your holiday spirit will go up to 2 here.
Excellent.
And you can tell everyone what that means for your character.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this is a 6. So this is a complete success. Like, walk us through your delivery of this Santa to the real Santa. And if you want to add in how the real Santa or we don't know if it's the real Santa.
Hold on, just
this
real quick.
other Santa.
I love you too.
Yeah.
Have fun at work. Okay. Sorry.
That's how you know we're real people.
Yep.
Because we love.
Because we love. So it's how did you forget you're actually royalty deprived of your birthright is how this.
That is
is the question.
It is a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Here. How did you forget? You're actually royalty deprived of your birthright.
Right. But we'll walk through the resolution of this. We'll unveil how that looks in play. I mean a lot of the setup I think is the same. One of the things, the first time I met a Santa, I didn't know that there were so many duplicates. The second time I met a Santa, I was like, I'm gonna give him a special thing to wear so I know who this Santa is. The third time I met a Santa, I was like, this is getting complicated, but we'll just, this is working. The fourth Santa, I was like, you know what? It'd be really good if I could hear where these different Santas were. And that's why I gave him the silver bell. So I go and listen around for the jingling bell of that Santa. And I bring him back and I say, Lord, the item you requested is ready in your room. If you would like it. I've made sure that no one else will disturb that space until you are ready. And we just flash back to me putting a "Do Not Disturb Santa Sleeping" sign on the outside of the room. Is there anything else I can do for you?
He looks at the outfit of the Santa that's trapped, and he says, "I'm going to need 5 more of those."
Oh, my lord, don't worry.
Those hoes.
It's already underway.
Spectacular. I will take care of the rest, my friend. And he shuts the door. And then you start hearing commotion from inside. But for what it's worth, Santa's trouble is fully successfully quelled, and this is not going to come up again for a while because you've got things under control as far as the Lord of the House is concerned.
Excellent.
Let's swing over to our dear friend Butterworth.
I've got a plan. So
Good.
we have a drift of mixed mail out in the courtyard where it was dumped by some malefactor at the postal service. Here's something that not a lot of people know. The reindeer who work here are very sensitive to the particular stink of children. And what we need to do is separate the mail that children have touched with their grubby little hands from everything else. So all I need to do is borrow one of the sleigh team, bring them out, and make use of their nose and run every piece of mail past them. Now, if I can just get some of the other house staff, and I think I can, to make sure that we've got some sort of a conveyor belt system of mail just passing in front. And the reindeer just needs to nod or shake. That's all we need. We get it sorted into piles. We'll be through it probably before midnight, easily, considering the volume.
Sounds about right. So we're leaning into management here? Is that
exactly? Yep.
What I'm hearing?
We've created
Cool.
a system, a process. We're managing all of the moving pieces to sort the mail.
Yeah. Carol and Thaddeus, do you happen to be amongst the individuals who are recruited for this, or do you have your own stuff to deal with right now?
I would love to be recruited for this.
I think I am very busy finishing up one thing and trying to figure out the next one.
Okay. For the sake of simplicity, Butterworth, I think in the course of inviting Carol into this activity, you have also figured out she will only understand things that are sung in the form of a Christmas carol to her. But yeah, so we've got a light die from there. What's a twist here? Any suggestions? We've got
no matter what, the reindeer hates
and
you.
a bucket brigade.
Yeah, give me the elevator pitch one more time of the plan.
We are going to have members of staff run individual pieces of mail past the nose of a member of the sleigh team who can differentiate between the ones that smell like children and those that don't.
What was the twist you proposed?
No matter what, the reindeer doesn't like him.
I was going to say, no matter what, it will awaken an insatiable hunger in the individual sniffing all those envelopes.
Ooh, that's good. The thing I was thinking is to kind of touch on that like fire bugginess of Butterworth here, and that you're at the point where valuable things, all the letters to Gertrude Rainclaw have checks enclosed, or cash perhaps, which you quickly realize.
Yeah, I 100% love that. I was not given instructions about what to do with that, just to make sure it didn't reach Santa. And so, yeah, absolutely burning all of those.
They will never reach Santa then.
To make sure they never cross-contaminate the regular mail. Sounds great.
Oh no, Gertrude it's a terrible oversight.
Mm.
Do you want to risk any bit of your soul off the bat here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the thing that is calling the darkness within him is to also let some of those children's letters hit the fire, and that's the source of the dark die, is that internal struggle.
All right. Give us that roll.
All right. It's the worst. It's only a 3. Well,
well,
maybe I was misremembering that thing about reindeer smell sensitivity.
is the dark die the highest die there?
It is
or
not.
equal?
No.
Okay. So you could add another dark die and re-roll here. if you
We
want.
probably should. This feels important. All right, let's do that.
Go for it.
And for those at home, I'm using my custom Trophy Dark dice.
Ooh.
And also my my lucky Golden Girls dice for the light dice. So we've got the yin and the yang.
They've been really lucky so far.
Yeah, no. We're up to a 5. 5 on dark.
All right.
Good job, Blanche.
5 on dark.
On dark.
Mhm.
Good job, dear.
5 on dark will bump up your holiday spirit
Mm-hmm.
from a 4 to a 5. Keep in mind that 6 is the max. You can tell us what that entails. But this is a 5. So, yeah. Is there any other notes on how this unfolds and how it succeeds that you want to provide for us?
Only just because it was running through my head the moment that you said I figured out Carol's thing, was that I started thinking a la Last Christmas, like, hey, Carol, just run all this mail past Prancer's nose. This plan cannot fail. But then it mostly succeeded. So that's the 5.
Why are you talking like that?
What do you mean? What about the way I talk is throwing you off? This is awful. Yeah, so I think that how it goes, I mean, obviously you'll give the complication, but I think the fact that we're working out in the grounds, right, like out on the front lawn, means of course we had to have some sort of a bonfire, both just for being able to clearly read the mail and to be able to keep us all warm, which is crucially important, and also even more important so that I can clearly hear the voices and what they want done with the mail. So yeah, we managed to identify just about all of the Gertie mail. That all gets tossed into the bonfire. And I think the voices say a couple of really nice things about me and my capabilities, which is nice. Little ego boost, little thumbs up, clap on the back, effectively. Yeah, so what do we have for complications coming out of the mixed success?
Yeah, the complication here is that this bonfire that you've created is Thaddeus. Again, I think you're maybe, and Carol too, you pick up on this. Our friend Butterworth doesn't pick up on this as well, but this bonfire has been set suspiciously close to a large pile of presents, all wrapped festively.
There's so many piles of these things around the house.
It's very true.
I think it's great to find out what happens with that right after we come back in about 5 minutes. We're going to take a short little bio break, take care of ourselves. We hope you take care of yourself. Also, we'll be back in just a few minutes to keep on Wassailing Claus Manor, or prevent it from wassailing. Wassailing is happening. Claus Manor is where it's happening at. it's being done to someone, and other people are doing it. And we're gonna be back to keep on doing it in about 5 minutes. By the way, that music that you're hearing over the video is as a draft version of one of 2 Christmas carols that we had Dr. Joseph Acinda, 100% related, go through and make. I think I just said make the most horrifying version of Christmas carols that you possibly could. And we have the Wassailing song ready to go. It'll be part of our video release for the campaign. We're doing a couple others along with that, and we'll have some more added on as a stretch goal. And my thought was that we could essentially kind of say, as you change tiers or as things intensify, you can change this. It'll be designed to be loop and be fairly ambient, as well as being all kinds of horrible. Everyone who's heard them so far has said, man, that was really beautiful and terrifying, which is exactly what you want in a song. And so, Mike, was that enough vamping for you to figure out what we were doing and what was going to happen?
I don't know why my brain completely broke. It had something to do with dungeon science. So I think that we left off with, what did we leave off with?
Some festive presence near a bonfire.
That's right. That's where we left off. All right. It's all crystal clear now. Festive presents are suspiciously close to the bonfire. Bum, 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 bum.
Bum, 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 bum.
Thaddeus, this ties into your challenge. I think you kind of need to act quickly on this if we want to avoid this dynamite from exploding. It is in a moment of particular threat here.
Yeah, there's so many piles of festive presents, but the ones that are about to get burnt do seem like the ones that I potentially should check first to see if anything's going on with them.
Yeah.
So, I think thus far we've seen me move with intention, but I don't think we've ever seen Thaddeus move with urgency, which is what is happening right now. I'm coming out. I don't know why they're burning these letters. It doesn't particularly matter right now. I know that what I need is in that pile potentially, and so I am.
I'm so tempted to cook a goose here because I can see Tony.
Oh, shit, I forgot. Let's actually. No, I forgot about that. Let's talk through that mechanic. Let's talk about cooking a goose. Tell me more again what that does.
Yeah, so cooking a goose, so the game's token system are these ducks, right? We have the ability to pass the duck, which we've seen, which is essentially somebody saying like, yeah, this particular task, I'm going to push that onto this other character. The other way to use these tokens is what we call cook a goose. And that may be actually pretty beneficial because we have some folks who are getting up there in their holiday spirit. And what this does is that person gets to challenge you to sort of prove your worth by handling the current assignment in a way that they just don't think you can. So they've got a few options to choose from here. And I can just read through those as Michael chooses here. So option 1, I bet you don't actually know anything about, and then they name a skill that you haven't used yet as the character who is tasked with the problem, and you must use that skill in the task. You can also say you'll never be as good as, and then you have to use a skill that another character has. If only we'd hired that blank, the player can choose an occupation or background that wasn't selected for the game and challenge you to use that to solve the task. And the final one is this could only be done by a particular family member, and you have to impersonate that family member in order to complete the task. If you choose the challenge or accept the challenge, you just complete it with whatever those parameters are. And then everyone gets to reduce their holiday spirit by 1.
Excellent.
Including the goose character.
Michael, do you want to goose me?
I absolutely do.
Okay. Yeah, you see me moving with urgency towards the bonfire / festive pile area.
So the thing is, I bet you don't actually know anything about heresy.
And so now I have to use heresy in order to complete this assignment.
Correct.
That's the challenge. You are welcome.
No, I mean I already had something brewing that is really well adjacent to this, and so I'm just trying to decide because I do feel like well, I won't talk to it. We'll do it. And we'll if y'all are like that's not heretical enough, then we'll address that in the moment. You bet I don't know any. There's no narrative mode of this, right? I'm just responding to this practically as a character, right? I walk up with I walk up with urgency that you have never necessarily seen. There is like my cloak that I arrived in is billowing behind me, and all of a sudden, like inside it, you can see that there is red and blue lining on either side. I pull myself up to an incredibly tall height, and I say, "What are you miscreants doing here? What is happening?" I'm sorry.
You know, Carol has no idea what you're saying.
That's fine. I'm talking to like all of the gathered, like every single person. Yeah, because I don't know that even Carol, that's even a thing for Carol at this point in time, because I have not engaged with Carol at all, because Carol won't talk to me. Now even more so.
Sorry, you're the new boy, aren't you? What's the question you're asking us?
Oh, so this is how you behave when the long-lost son of Claus returns home?
Oh, good gravy. Where is the long-lost son of Claus?
He stands before you and he has asked you a question.
Is he
What are
behind
you
you?
doing here?
Perhaps you're standing up so tall. Is he behind you?
Sir, I know that you have buried bodies, but if you do not watch your tongue, it is you who will find yourself in the garden.
This is
Since I have no idea what they're talking about, I'm just kind of busily collecting some of those checks that didn't quite make it to the bonfire.
I love it. And so, yes, but I am claiming to be a long-lost member of the Claus family, which is my heretical way of trying to deal with this. I am then now going to command everyone here to start collecting the festive presents and moving them to a safe distance. Is what I am going to attempt to do. And now I'm gonna roll.
Cool.
Or what are we
any
doing?
twists?
Twists.
You're at one light die right now.
Yeah.
Any twists that
Using a
people
little bit of
have
heresy.
to,
Nobody saw it coming.
No matter what, the actual lost son of the Claus family does show up.
Little Yolner Claus.
no matter what, some of those presents were load bearing, and the removing of the ones that are closest at hand will cause higher up ones to topple into the bonfire.
Oh, presents for the family getting burned. I wonder if someone will hear voices because of it.
Yeah, there's no reason I'm throwing that out as a quiz. I mean, the voices all agree with me that this is absolutely what should happen, but it's a coincidence.
Oh, no matter what, the ghost of Bodhi visits you.
Oh, that's real good.
Oh, that's real good.
That's juicy.
I think we're gonna take that one. No matter what, the ghost of Bodhi visits is excellent. I think 100%. I am gonna sell a little bit of my soul to the arcane forces of the North in order to truly manifest the divine right that is mine by my long lost birth. It's a 5, a 6, and a 5. So that would be a 6 on the light dice.
Yeah, it's a 6 on a light die. Ooh, a complete success at this. Being able to deliver the dynamite to Dead Morose.
What was the specific instructions that Dead had given?
Ooh, that's a good question. I believe it was just that he wanted the package found and then returned to him so that he could hide it again.
Okay. Excellent.
And your dark die was such that holiday spirit goes up. Is that right? Is it higher than 2?
It is now 3.
Okay. New level
The
of
light die
salvative
was the
north.
highest.
Oh, my light die was the highest. You're right. So I'm still at 2.
Oh, never mind.
And
did it
for what it's
actually
worth,
go down
everyone-
because?
Yeah, everyone pulls their holiday spirit down by 1 because this was a goose. Sorry, Carol. Your moment
you
of
can understand
relief.
us again, though. So
has become
yeah,
relief
now I'm
to
just
the rest of
cocky
us.
again.
Right. The thrill of declaring yourself the lost son kind of wears off, and you're like, maybe I'm being a bit hasty.
I was really looking forward to going to 3. Excellent. Before I read, so I am going to get the festive package.
How do you know which one ends up being the dynamite as opposed to just grabbing a bunch of
Yeah,
festive
so
packages?
a lot of packages are, they're a myriad of colors. As we know, you have to have a lot of different colors for it to really truly be a festive pile of packages, and you need the load bearing ones, of course. But there are a couple different ways that I knew. One, each Claus family member has a distinctive way of wrapping presents. They have colors, they have techniques, they have other ways of wrapping that they gravitate towards. Dead's is 2 things. One, very practical. Like it's not overdone. It's not ostentatious. And 2, they're always smeared with the blood of the elves. Like it's just a thing. Whether it's actual blood or just that people debate, it's blood.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah, absolutely. Please
he
do.
actually uses an elf face to stamp a repeating pattern on it.
Yeah. So when he said it's bedecked like the head of the elves earlier, what he really meant was, oh yeah, I had cut off Lou the elf's head right before that, and I used him as a stamp that entire Christmas. So yeah, it's very there's not a lot of them. It's very easy to tell. It's very concerning what might be in the other 3 that are in that pile. That's not my business. The other thing that was that really helped narrow it down out of those 4 really quickly was it said 2 dynamite from Dead, which just made it real easy to know, which is again very practical system. But it was the first one I looked at, so I don't know what the other 3 say. They could all say to dynamite. It could be spread out amongst 4 packages. Who knows? So I am going to gather this up, and I am going to take some of the dynamite, and just put a little bit of it underneath my mattress, just in case, just a few sticks, just to see, if they become necessary later on. And then I'm going to go to Dead to offer to return the package, but also let him know if he truly wants it to be secure from all his enemies, the best way to keep it safe is for him to not even know where it is. Because as we know, there are other members of the Claus family, wink, who know when you are sleeping. They know when you're awake. They know the deeds that you do. And so the best way for you to not be on the hook for this is for you to not know where the dynamite is. And I wouldn't want you to be burdened by such a thing. I'm happy to take it on myself, and to be the one who shoulders the burden and the risk. So I will return the package to him, but then offer to hide it on my own.
He when you do that, like, you could tell that he's very intrigued, and he has sort of like his cane or staff or whatever that is, some kind of mix of staff and cane, and he like
some eldritch blend.
You can feel like the stick like catch the cuff of your pants, and he kind of pulls them up, and he's looking at your legs, and he says, "Just need to make sure you're not one of them or the Baba Yaga herself."
Ah, yes,
But it appears you do not have chicken legs or elven legs.
No. Not for a while, at least.
I believe this arrangement will work for the time being.
Cool. Great. I'm just going to go hide the rest of the dynamite now.
I'm so glad that it wasn't Carol who took care of this. Oh. She came in here singing random songs.
I can't imagine how you have gotten along all these years with such subpar help.
I'm very happy to have you on board, sir.
This place, it feels right to be here, to be in service to you.
And with that, so we've gone through our first round of the troubles here. So you have sort of completely quelled a couple of them. Those being, at least for the time being, so that is Santa and Dead. So you don't have to worry about those popping up for now. So you can kind of start working together to handle some of these other ones based on the number that we have. Pharrell is still available as well. But what we'll do is we'll go on and see where those troubles advance here.
Walk us through mechanically what you're doing to figure that out.
Oh, yeah. So I've got cards. So there's obviously it's a very short deck of, in this case, we've got 5 cards. And if it's a complete success, a 6, it goes into the discard pile. If it's a mixed success, it's going into the draw pile. And if it's a failure, it stays active, essentially, or everything becomes active, really. And so anything that's in the discard pile, we just don't worry about until we have completely successfully quelled every trouble. So it kind of, in your session, it kind of narrows into very specific troubles, and we'll accelerate those. And then what we're working towards is, once we get to the final level of trouble, it's essentially a final test on the staff. So it will determine whether the Wassailing is a party that is thrown after the events of all of this. And essentially what happens in the final roll with whatever family member peaks first is going to determine if that party is celebrating, the servants celebrating the fact that they have kept Christmas in the way that it has been and always will be, or if this represents some type of change where this particular family member will peek into their new form, their new form of the legend, that type of thing. And whether you are celebrating or sort of having this rager as a staff and a family over the way that the holiday has changed. And then there's an epilogue where we ask certain questions about what happens to you afterward and what that party looks like and all of that type of thing. So that's kind of what we're working towards, and whether it's you successfully saving Christmas or the Claus family running off the rails and what happens from there.
Love it. Cool. But you're just drawing you're
time,
drawing cards
as we go through. Yes, but I'm drawing cards.
Gotcha.
And yes, because of how the piles work, it's going to accelerate some family members and hold some of them back. So you get a lot of variance in how these things progress, which is, I think I've mentioned, and I'll probably mention more often in different places, that I've been running this, like a form of this scenario, for 4 or 5 years. And we essentially run the same scenario every year. Recently, Michael went and redid all of the setting and all of that type of thing, just added a lot more to it. But a lot of how this starts unfolding in the emergent narrative and the randomization elements makes it advance in very like strange and particular ways to your particular play group. Yeah. That said, Carol, you have, do you want to pick a room that we haven't been to yet? Where you happen to be wandering on, so maybe it's the next day even.
The 15th of December, 1908.
I think I'm probably going to be in the library. Nobody really uses it, so I can drink and smoke in peace.
Ooh, yeah. The library, there are 3 levels of book-lined walls, step stools and lightweight ladders, overstuffed chairs with lap blankets. From the ceiling, a few books are dangling from twine, and they're propped open like birds in flight. There's the scent of leather, of citrus, of clove. It's really a wonderful spot. Which section of the library gets the most use, judging by the number of volumes missing from the shelves?
Romance. Just straight romance. Everybody's reading the romance. It's weird because it's not a particularly romantic household. But I guess that's what books are for, you know, to help bring you those stories and narratives that aren't in your life.
What are you reading
Oh, I'm not.
as you are? Okay.
Yeah, no. Reading? No. I am drinking and smoking and hiding because I don't want to do any work.
And unfortunately for you, Gertrude Claus is here. Is anybody else hanging out in the library at this point?
Like behind a wall.
Yeah, I do love that I'm like lurking. Is there maybe a risen area of the library, like an upper reading nook that I can be tucked away in?
Absolutely. It's small. The clauses maybe don't even know that it's there. It's from when the elves built the manor or something like that. So it's elvish sized, something like that. Yeah, you can probably tuck in there. So you're going to overhear all of this as well. But you see Gertrude Claus here, Carol, and she is in the wildlife section, and she is pulling down these giant volumes that are essentially the historical record of the like lineage and I forget what it's called with like horse husbandry, but like the sort
pedigree?
of the pedigree of all of the reindeer. And she just sees you over there and just says, Carol, why don't you come over here instead of loafing? How come every time I run into you're just bothering about? But it is nice and convenient to have you so close. Come here, please.
I suppress a sigh and I put out my cigarette in whatever nearest thing I can find to put it out in. I don't particularly care. And then I go up to Gertrude and I say, "Oh, Gertrude, what do you need? I was just taking a break."
And that break is now officially over. Thank you, Carol, for your beautiful final moment of that respite which you have sought. However, here is what I'm going to need from you. I need you to do some ratings for me of the local reindeer population. You'll see within these manuals, there are a number of attributes. There are some other particular ones which I would like you to investigate: likability, loyalty, health, and resemblance to Prancer. Uh, uh, Apparently, Prancer has retired or something.
Prancer
Whatever
is
the
one
case.
of the reindeers.
Yes,
Am I
that
remembering that right?
is probably the better form of the verb there. It is a past tense situation at this point. They're gone. And here's the issue. Before Santa notices the absence, we need to find the perfect replacement. As you know, if you've been wandering around the fields, the local reindeer population is notoriously skittish. So I would like for you to take with you my dear friend. You will find him outside waiting for you. His name is Stern Lackmanor. Please connect with him. Head out. You could take a drive. You love driving, don't you? You know so much about cars and automobiles and the very machinations behind those cruel devices.
I love to drive. It's my hobby and my job. So that's good. I'll go find this stern guy. We will find a reindeer for you. Santa will never know. We're gonna find a good one.
If you're auditioning for the chorus, I regret to inform you that you will not be getting a place in that. But I do appreciate that you are making an attempt at something for once in your life. And with that, you're going to head off and talk to Stern Lackmanor and head out and rate the local reindeer population for their resemblance to Prancer.
I would like to specify, remind all the listeners that what Gertrude wants me to do is rating the reindeer. Now, the enunciation wasn't very specific about rating versus
Versus
rating.
rating.
Apologies.
No,
Rating.
That's not what I heard.
yeah. I mean, I like at this point, I don't think that I don't think that Amanda is confused.
Anyway, I will go and meet with this person.
A couple notes as you come up with your plan here. When you meet up with Stern Lackmanor, we don't need to necessarily zoom in on this, but is just munching on jerky the entire time. Has like fur trapping equipment and clothing on, and definitely does not respect you.
Wow.
Thaddeus, I guess the question here for you is, are you going to tag along with Carol? Or mind whatever other business you've got here around the manor?
I am not. I think for me, I mean, this is me lurking on Carol because I don't like Carol because Carol still refuses to talk to me, and I have yet to figure out why. They're always singing. It's totally weird, and I'm just looking for more dirt on them. At this point, I think it's gotten to the point where I'm trying to figure out how can I don't want to go out into the cold with this weirdo. But how can I claim credit for this when Carol returns is 100% on my mind while I go and do other things to make myself indispensable to the staff. So I'm just tucking the information away in the back of my head, hoping to steal credit later.
Got it. Butterworth, where are you at?
Butler's work It's never done.
No.
I think we're in the parlor trying to oversee holiday preparations with the staff.
The parlor. On a side table, you see a statuette of a rampant elephant. Draped over its back, a collection of blindfolds for use in parlor games, because it's the parlor. You need to play parlor games in the parlor.
No.
Shelves line the walls, packed with books and strange curios. There's a skull with prominent canines, a crystal emerging from rock, a painting of ladies playing badminton. And there's a hidden cabinet that you know has various bottled liqueurs and syrups. What about the space gives the impression that it's usually men who spend time here?
I think it's the fact that the fireplace that I'm currently stoking, down in the ashes, you can see the butt ends of many cigars and some broken glass from occasional lustily thrown tumblers that had held liquor previously. And at the moment, I'm making sure that the entire room stays warm and cozy by tossing in some of the most well-thumbed romance novels from the library, including Hearts of Forever. So many hands have passed over this. The cover was practically falling off. The science fiction classic Love Slaves of Saturn. And finally, The Pirate King's New Bride. Those all hit the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them with bookmarks still sticking out of them.
You hear a familiar voice from what you thought was like a throw blanket in the form of a fur. It is actually Kringla. And she turns and says, "Oh, Butterworth, just keeping the fire kindled, I see."
Your comfort is our first priority. I hope that you're warm enough.
I'm warm enough, and really we should keep this manor warm enough for all the naughty children that we will bringing, thanks to the success of our recent test.
So we're expecting more guests?
Oh, yes, yes. And you look, and she has the table that she is at is covered in invitations. And you can catch that, like, they're phrased with, like, "Come to the North Pole to learn more about the Christmas spirit." They are invitations for the world's naughtiest children to come here to Claus Manor. And she turns to you and says, "I'm going to need to send all of these. I'm going to need to..." She probably hands you one of the letters and has you read it as well.
Is this child's given name actually Knuckles?
So naughty. So naughty, isn't it?
Absolutely. One might wonder if their parents perhaps have been the cause of their lapse. Not to say that they shouldn't take some responsibility, but considering their youth, they're just little saplings that could yet
Sounds
be...
like Sounds like heresy to me. These children were destined to a life of discipline. And you and I are going to make sure that that destiny comes real.
How are we doing that?
Sending these invitations, picking up and delivering the children here, and, lest we not forget, a selection of adjustable metal collars. What I'm going to need, though, are the family's finances. I need you to get the Claus family checkbook or some kind of valuables that we can exchange for cash.
Okay.
You're up for a little sneakery, right?
Well, it doesn't necessarily match my skill set, but I do know that we have people on staff who have a reputation for a certain moral slipperiness. I'm sure that we can make something happen.
Just get it done, will you?
You got it. Stamps, adjustable metal collars, finances.
I can take care of the purchases. The checkbook is really what I need.
That streamlines things immensely. Fantastic. How are
The old
you at
man just
forging
won't
signatures?
let me deal with this. How am I at forging signatures? I can figure it out.
How hard could it be? Everybody's got one. All you'd need
We'll
to do is
figure
swap
it
one
out.
for the other. Yes, of course, the two of us.
We're a team now.
And I have, as the butler, had cause to manage the finances for the house, and so I would, of course, be your go-to person in this regard, and no one else.
Really, you're just the one who was here.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed.
Thaddeus.
Mm-hmm.
Carol is left. You're up on this little snoopy nook above the library, and you hear the rattling of chains. Thaddeus.
Yes.
Thaddeus.
Yes.
It is I, your former partner in Christ, Bodie Marley.
I'm sorry. Are you sure?
The chains. He shakes the chains, whatever these spectral chains are. Bodie Marley.
Yes, I heard you. You don't have to repeat everything you say, sir.
It sounded like you didn't hear.
Well, I mean, it's a fine rhetorical process, but really, I mean, I acknowledged you every time.
That is true.
Look, I'll come clean. I remember you, but this was a problem when you were alive also, too. Your homiletics were a shame. You would take one point, repeat it over and over again, and never really get anywhere in the explanation.
I'm going to have you do something that's called the spirit roll here.
Yeah, tell us about the spirit roll.
The spirit roll is just when you come across something spooky or frightening, which a ghost, and I mean, you're pushing through it here, but let's find out how you feel inside about this ghost.
Okay, so
the
how am I
spirit
building this roll?
is-
Yeah.
This is a very easy one. We are just going to roll one dark die, and we're
Okay.
going to see if it is higher than your current holiday spirit.
If I roll a 1, then it's then nothing. If I roll anything else, then something.
If it's 1, you're cool. You have become very accustomed to the ways of Claus Manor in the one day that you've been here, and a ghost of your dead colleague is not frightening to you, and you don't have to gloss it over with the holiday spirit at all. But if it is over, yes, you will bump that up.
Excellent. I rolled a 3, so
Excellent. Well, excellent for the holiday spirit, I guess. So you'll bump back up to a 2 here on your holiday spirit.
Excellent.
But I mean, tell me why this is unsettling to you, even though you're not showing it on the outside, but down under the skin, this is getting to you.
Because it reminds me of the time when I departed from my true purpose. Obviously I had a higher calling. From the time I was young, I knew I had a higher calling. And while I may have thought that was to the church and service, obviously that was a mistake. And Bodhi is a reminder of the years I spent wasting away from the north. So this is less a this is someone who knows that I have made that, like that I did make that mistake. And so the fact that they're supernatural, not my problem. The fact that they actually know that I am flawed and made a mistake, that is what is ultimately incredibly
Ooh.
unnerving to me.
Yeah. Bodhi looks at you with his spectral eyes and says, I saw you, Thaddeus, when those two attached me to that wall, pulled me up from where I was sleeping, labeled me as naughty in capital letters, and stuck me to a wall. I saw you.
Well, did you enjoy what you saw? Did you enjoy the fact that I've come here to take what was yours? The fact that you took my spot here, the spot that should have been mine. This is the place I belonged. I never belonged anywhere else. Did you like that you saw me back here to reclaim what was mine?
What you want now is something that I can provide you, but you're going to need to get me off of that wall and punish the person who put me there.
All right. I'm interested. Who, my dear beloved friend, who I've missed so greatly, who do you view as the person who put you there?
The camera cuts to Carol driving her car alongside this trapper through the snow as they go to check out and rate and or raid the reindeer.
I mean, you can't. Sometimes you got to do one before you do the other. You know what I'm saying?
Carol, how are you planning to deal with this situation?
Well, I have a background in gambling, excellent gambling, I'm sure. So I'm definitely going to use my, you know how when you're watching horse races, you get a feeling about a specific horse. You're like,
Yeah.
that's the one. That's the one that's going to win. And yeah, okay, you can look at the odds and the odds ratios and whatnot, but like the real thing you look at is the horse and the gut instinct. So that's how I'm going to choose which reindeer to tackle.
I love it.
And well, I'm not going to tackle it. The guy I'm with, he's going to do it.
He does seem
And
outfitted to do such a thing.
oh yeah, I'm not like outdoorsy. This guy clearly is, so he can probably tackle a reindeer. And then once he kind of gets in and tackles this reindeer, he's gonna take the reindeer to the ground and drag it back to the house.
All right. So we got a skill die here. Any twists to the situation from the group?
Look, they didn't call the reindeer wasn't called Prancer for no reason, right? Prancer stock is known as some of the most agile reindeer stock that exists out there. I think no matter what, um, you will get wounded by one of these reindeer dodging dodging so that you hit horn instead of hindquarter.
The worst part of that is it means I get out of the car.
No matter what, you have to get out of the car.
Oh god.
Oh no. How about in order to fully befriend Stern Lack Manor and get him to take on the lion's share of this work, you have to join him in the I believe it's Laplandish delicacy of drinking some hallucinogenic mushroom infused reindeer urine.
Wait, he's had hallucinogenic mushroom infused reindeer urine this whole time and didn't offer?
Yeah,
I mean, he would offer at this point as part of the devil's
Oh,
bargain.
yeah.
he's
I
got
take
it
it.
hot. He's got it hot in the thermos.
The steam when he opens the lid.
That's how you know it's good.
Don't crack a window.
So we
You want to
nailed it
seal in
there?
all that goodness.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the hallucinogenic urine.
Cool.
Warm, actually.
Do you want to add a dark die to this? Risk a bit of your soul.
I feel like I am risking a bit of my soul anyway by drinking this stuff. So
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, I think I can do that. So do I even though I'm not technically using bluffing or mathematics, do I still get a skill die?
I'm gonna give it to you here.
Pity die.
I think you made a good enough case, and I'm a degenerate gambler at times, so
I was gambling on you giving me pity die, so I appreciate that.
Jackpot.
That is 5 light.
5 light, nice. So there'll be a complication here, probably tied into this hallucinogenic mushroom reindeer urine. Yeah, give us a little bit of narration of how this goes down, how you are bringing the new Prancer back, and yeah.
Awesome. What was this guy's name again? I've forgotten it.
This guy's name was Stern Lack Manor.
Stern Lack Manor. Stern Lack Manor, I have a deal for you if you're interested. What if you go tackle that deer? Then we both get credit for it. And maybe.
Stop right there. Stop. I'll do it. I don't respect you.
Whoa.
Here, take a swig of this. We both respect the juice, right?
I kind of hold up my flask, which I've been drinking, and then I take a swig of whatever this is.
And presumably he runs and goes and tackles this deer. It's pretty impressive. You have front row seats in the front seat of this car. And he drags it back. Yeah. Throws it, I guess, just in the back seat or in the boot, as it were.
How big reindeer are?
Reindeer are huge.
Very big.
This is probably
back
more of a
seat, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually probably more of a strap to the roof situation.
Yeah. Definitely strapped to the roof. Which I let Stern do. I don't do that. I don't help. I take another swig of this urine juice though.
Is that stuff kicking in yet?
Ding dong merrily on high. I think I am.
You see a what appears to be a specter in front of you, draped in chains. It's a face that you remember dearly from when you dug it up out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know his name, but it's Bodie Marley, staring at you in the distance. Not that long of a distance, a short distance. I know what you did, Carol. I saw what you did.
2 weeks to Christmas, I dug you up the back. Why?
True.
What's going on?
I'm not a ghost. I'm just a trapper out here getting reindeer with you.
Not talking to you, talking to the ghost. It's right there, but you can't see it 'cause you're not high.
Ain't no ghost, dear.
I guess I just rub my eyes.
This is my third flask for the day. There's no ghost there.
We're right at the time that we said that we wanted to halt here. Do we want to leave that as a cliffhanger?
We can, or do we want to try to end the scene, or does everybody feel pretty good about where we're at?
I think I mean a cliffhanger is good because I don't think Gertrude wanted a dead reindeer or a knocked out reindeer brought back, but that's a problem for next Christmas.
Love it.
Next Christmas, we'll deal with this.
Well, then
Not
let's
this
do-
year. It
let's-
is okay.
Let's do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator, in this case, creators of a game that we just played, and talk about what it was like to play that game. We are talking about the Wassailing of Claus Manor that is going to come to Kickstarter in about a week and a half. We're going to launch on the 7th. You can go follow it at ttrpg.link/ho no, as in ho no, look how good this game is, it will put all other games to shame, is exactly what that means. ttrpg.link/ho no to go follow it. It's also linked down in the description below or in the chat right now if you're watching. Let's hear from the makers of this game. Mike, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and give us the elevator pitch for the Wassailing of Claus Manor.
Yeah. So I'm Mike Martins. I am the writer for various RPG properties, which we've talked about. If you've stuck around or been around for the entire thing, but Sunken, Nautical Horror Trophy RPG. I have Planet Raygun, which is retro sci-fi space heists, a lot of fun, based on the Carved from Brindlewood system. So if you're interested to see how that mystery system can expand into other things, we're playing around with that. I think my kind of identity is built around mashing up really disparate influences and making them into some kind of weird, coherent thing, which hopefully you get a sense of here, where we're taking, with the Wassailing of Claus Manor, we are taking haunted house, like weird, creepy, gothic horror. We are mixing that with Edwardian period drama, and we are layering it with frosting that is Christmas specials of all kinds of joyous, festive kind of things to explore this weird, dark horror that's kind of behind it all, and sort of asking the question of, like, if this stuff was real, it would need dark magic involved in it. So what does that look like? And especially, what does that look like from normal people who have to interact with it on a day-to-day basis? That's, I guess, the pitch of the game. I run it every year in some form, in generally 2 or 3 sessions, and it's become sort of a Christmas holiday tradition for the group that I run it with. So it's a nice thing to add into your RPG calendar with your own group. It's something you can play every year, or play one year, and just take a little creepy holiday break. And you can see how it unfurls into wild chaos as time goes on here.
If you're a Canadian and you're like, I wish there was an important event in November that I could celebrate, like those Americans, you could just make the Wassailing your American Thanksgiving of Canada.
Oh, wow.
What about Remembrance Day? That's an important day in November.
What is Remembrance Day?
It's like Memorial Day or
Okay.
Veterans Day or
But
whatever.
Canadian.
You have like a whole bunch of them. But Canadian, we only have one because we're not. Well, anyway.
Good job.
It's
Speaking
been a while
of
you forgot.
Canadians and Remembrance Day, Amanda, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, what part of Canada you love the most, and what it was like to play the Wassailing?
Well, I'm Amanda. My pronouns are she, her. I do some writing of stuff, but mostly I try and get into games and play as many games as I can. I've played a lot of games by both Mike Martins and Michael Van Vliet here in this stream, and they're always awesome. So I'm really excited about this game coming out for real. I've seen kind of sneak peeks from playing it. I've seen some sneak peeks of the art, and it's really, really gorgeous. So I'm excited for everybody to get to look at it and play it. As for my favorite part of Canada, I don't know. I live in Edmonton. I'm pretty partial to Edmonton. But I think I love Newfoundland. Newfoundland's the best. Not any further north than Edmonton though. It gets really cold. Like really cold. Like North Pole cold.
Do you have any
Tight.
questions about the Wassailing that you want to ask Michael or Mark? Or Mike,
Oh,
since I can say people's right names correct. I'm just mispronouncing names left and right this week.
you mentioned a bunch of your inspirations of different kinds of genres. What about mechanical inspirations? What kind of made you think of those ones?
Ooh, yeah. So I think that there's a suite of games. This started as a homebrew scenario for Bedlam Hall. So you'll see, obviously, there's lots of elements of that. Trophy, I think in switching it over, I just kind of wanted to have it be really pick up easily picked up and played in a couple of sessions and feel like it comes to a full arc. So Trophy Dark's really good at that, of like character creation, super quick. There's not a lot of decisions, but the decisions that you have are really impactful and twist the characters in interesting, unique ways. Some of the other games, though, Good Society, just what Good Society is doing generally, as well as having a token system that pushes the sort of social interaction and the social tension of you can right with the duck system in this, like you can sort of like stick it to other people in different ways, but that is a commodity. So you kind of have to choose how to use it. And I really like the way that that's handled in Good Society. So there's some of that is modeled here. And then Carve from Brindlewood. We didn't get to see it in this session, but there's a masks system in this, which is called either branches or masks or keys, or there's a lot of different ways depending on which Carve from Brindlewood game you came up in that you probably referred to it as. But essentially hit points that are sort of behind the scenes here, so that if you want to bump up a result or avoid a particularly bad result, you can answer some backstory, and that gives us a little bit more insight into some of the sneaky things that are going on behind your characters' presence within the setting. So those are really I think the heart of what we're mashing together here.
Yeah, like let's trigger one of those right now. Maybe let's each take a spirit break question and give it a little answer for our character. Then Mike, you can just do it for yourself in the real world. So if you want to look through one real quick and imagine you would fail to roll horribly, or that I put you on the spot on the stream and said, tell me this about your real life. You can pick one of those. I will go with what humiliating nickname has the family given you, and how did you get it? Since now we know I was here once before. I'm gonna go with my nickname was Bodie 2. That's what they called me. They called me Bodie 2 the entire time I was here, because they couldn't remember my name. They were like, it's the guy who's always with Bodie. We're just gonna call him Bodie 2. And I didn't even get the respect of having my own name. Mike, Amanda, y'all got one that you've got locked and loaded yet? Or Michael and Amanda?
I'm going to go with an easier one. Mine is White Word Miss. What skill tied to your servant role did you lie about on your application, and how have you maintained the fiction? You would think that I actually lied about my driving skills. My driving skills are impeccable. The repairs part is thing. The thing that I'm actually not good at, the thing Carol is terrible at, is the mathematics part of gambling. She doesn't do any sort of odds or probability analysis in anything she does ever. She just goes with her gut. And that worked on the application. She just went with her gut to answer whatever answers she thought might work. But luckily, the Clauses also don't know mathematics, so as long as it sounded good, they were fine with it.
Love it.
I think Butterworth probably would have checked Chestnut's roasting. What story do you tell about your background that you have a distant sense that everyone's tired of? I think that when his ego's in need of bolstering, or he's in his cups, or he's just trying to be intimidating, Butterworth loves to fall back on stories of the army days with Dead. I never got a chance to work it into this game session, but in my mind, I was coming up with all sorts of really disgusting stories about life on the battlefield. I'll share one detail with you. You might have asked somebody, do you know what it is like to wake out of a deep sleep and feel like you have a scarf on, only to find out that it's an elf arm that's been blown free? I was thinking about what the taste of elf blood might be like so that I could describe that in detail. So yeah, I think he enjoys telling war stories to sort of bolster his reputation. I think if he had ever tried to admit which skill he had lied about, it probably would have been management. I feel like he was just a military conscript and was never in charge of anybody else until he got to bully the people at Claus Manor.
I love that your mind was just background running through the horrible thoughts. All right.
Mm-hmm. If I'm just sitting there quietly, just know that there are true horrors boiling underneath.
That's like the subtitle to everything Michael Van Vliet ever does, quite honestly.
Mike, anyone that you wanna have a spirit break in reality with?
I can make a vulnerable move here, and I will grab 5 golden rings. And the song, I think that this is indicative of how I see the dark singe on Christmas. Is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is a song that haunts me. It's a beautiful song. It's like very mellow, but if you listen to the lyrics, there's things like next year, all our troubles will be miles away. It's about being separated from people from very long distances that you were once close to. There's problems that you're dealing with. All of that is kind of like hidden in this. And I'm somebody who I grew up in the Midwest and moved out to California. So I'm very far from everyone that I went through these rituals with growing up. And so Christmas kind of has this, like, we go back. It's wonderful and that type of thing. But there's darkness to realizing that you're all like far apart and separated. And I think I always read that line of someday soon we all will be together as kind of dark and creepy, and that we'll all be dead. And then we're all going into the ground. This is telling you a lot about where this game came from. That we'll all be dead and in the ground, and we will be part of the earth again. And there you go. That's a carol that haunts me.
That's the Kickstarter video right there. Is just Mike.
Mike, what condition did you just clear with that vulnerable move?
I think I just added 3 more to my character, but yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Amanda, do you already asked a question, right? I don't know.
I did, yes.
Just mechanical. Awesome. Michael Van Vliet, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Wassailing of Claus Manor?
I'm a person who writes stuff every once in a while. I guess that's the short version. Wholesomely horrifying is one of my go-to flavors. I'm also really fond of writing stuff about the banality of evil and how no matter how awful things are, people tend to get used to it. That's some of the funniest stuff to me. Like, you know, getting used to your neighbors who are vampires kind of things. It cracks me up. Just humans are so adaptable to things that are awful. And that's a really fun space to play with. I always have a good time playing this game, in part because the character creation goes so quickly that I never have the opportunity to get too stuck in my head about what the character is I'm going to create until I'm actually talking as them. Like the discovering your character as you play is just sort of built into it, which is a lot of fun. And it also short circuits if you're the sort of person who has any level of performance anxiety about a hobby where you're ostensibly spending time with your friends and should not be anxious. It's a mechanic that works in your favor. Like, oops, sorry, you're already having fun before you had a chance to even start overthinking, oh, am I picking the best character? What am I even going to do with these skills? Doesn't matter. You're in.
Yeah, suckers, you're already having fun.
Gotcha.
We tricked you. Awesome. Did you have any question you wanted to ask Mike?
Why?
We already did that.
We just covered that.
It bears repeating. No answer can truly satisfactorily answer that question.
Can I ask a question of Michael?
Is
You
that even
can.
allowed?
I was going to let you
that
next. So
allowed?
if you want to skip ahead, we can go ahead. No, it's fine because Michael's one of the creators also too. But you can ask us questions. Yes, absolutely.
Why did I make this? Yeah, you already heard the story.
Yeah.
You heard the origin story.
Well, it's kind of like a broader existential why, I guess. Why anything?
Yeah. The question that and I guess here's another why. Here's the more practical why, is that this game is actually the other side of the barter from Butter Princess. For those folks who are familiar with that game, which won Best Graphic Design at the Indie Game Breakers Awards. It's beautiful. So that was me. I had read the draft of that and seen that in play and told Brian I need to do the design for that. I know that you're an artist, but I'm just going to do it. I need to do it. I have a vision for it. And the way that we worked it out was essentially barter. So Brian said that I kind of like gave him the explanation of this. This was a few years ago, of what Claus Manor was all about. And he went and did these beautiful woodcuts of all of the family members. And that is, so yeah, like this has been a thing. And then we added Michael in, and we're adding more people in. Like everyone's just getting caught up in this rolling snowball that is the wassailing, the wassailing. And I hope that everybody else gets caught up into it as well. So it's inertia is really the why of all of this. Yeah, that's my why answer.
Love it. Yeah, you can ask Michael a question though.
Yay! And then I have a question maybe for the rest of you as well. So first for Michael, so all of that text that I was reading of the setting locations was one of the things that Michael had complete free reign on. So the characters were the family members were sort of designed by me, and there was like a rough sketch or like an original text. And Michael took all of that and developed it in really neat directions. But the locations are completely his own devising, other than me saying this is what would be in the house. What were you looking at? What were you trying to like evoke? Like what places were you going as you were coming up with that? The questions are all really fun and weird, and how they connect in with the different elements of the setting. Yeah.
Some of it I think came from game writing technology that I picked up from Bluebeard's Bride, which is a game where the person running gets one little detail seed from the players and then has to really quick create a room that matches that theme. And the key is always try and place at least 3 things that feel seductive and interactable. So a lot of it was trying to think of, tight little compact ways of writing things that felt like they implied a bigger story that could be picked up and played with in the narrative, no matter what member of the Claus family you are trying to assist, that there might be something there that you could pull into your story and make use of it. And sometimes you just put a leather paddle in there because you think it's funny. So it's not all deep thought. One of my favorite things in the world in RPG writing as well is to ask leading questions. I love to craft a question that is a sort of a trap, especially when they come in pairs. The first question gets you thinking along one line, and then a follow-up question undermines, reverses, adds depth to your answer to the first question. It's kind of like a magic trick where I don't even know what you're going to answer, but I know that the 2 questions can work together to sort of inspire something really interesting. And I also like questions that force you to explore something about your character. So the question is not just going to say, like, I get bored by all the questions of, what do you see here in this room? And you just list stuff, or what's the most valuable? What's the most dangerous thing here? Instead, I want to focus on uh, what does this place bring out from your character? An emotional reaction, something about their history, or do we reveal that you are doing something slightly transgressive here to add a little edge to your character? That was a lot of what was going through my mind when I was writing those out.
I think that segues into my question for Amanda and Tony, based on your playing of the game. Was there anything that surprised you in a good way about the game? I guess you could say, if there was a bad way, that might have like unlocked sort of like some like a new angle on how you were approaching the story and the narrative that unfolded either in the setting, or how the characters approached you, or how each other interacted, that type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, Amanda, do you have a thought? Because I can go first for sure.
Oh, yeah. The ducking system where you can pass the task off onto somebody else, then just the act of doing that involves the why would you do it? How are you going to do it? What's the next person going to do with this? And what are the repercussions of you passing it on? I really liked that mechanic a lot. I think you said you got it from Good Society?
It's based on the token
kind of
system
the
in Good
idea?
Society. Yeah.
I've only ever played that one once. It was super fun though. But I don't even know if we got to the token bits of that. So this is sort of a really new mechanic to me. So it was really fun, and it kind of added this sort of PvP layer to it that works really well in this game for these characters that are all trying to be the favorite of the family, you know. So yeah, I really liked the tokens.
There's a PvP piece to it, but there's also a piece where you can do some really interesting spotlight passing. If you're like, hey, whether the characters can be creating conflict, but I also know this player is trying to do this thing, and the family member just approached me, and it would be great if it was in their hands. Me ducking out of it can be competitive towards that character, but give that player the ability to achieve a goal is a really cool piece that I think goes with that. I'll honestly say there are lots of times on streams where I wonder if the person is reading from text or just saying the thing, right? And especially for you, who has run this for years now. How many years have you been doing this?
4 or 5, depending on where you count the start of the calendar.
So there's the question of like, okay, how much of this is because Mike has embodied these characters multiple times in a varied scenario, but in different ways, right? How much of that is, and how much of this is you reading off a piece of paper, and where do those two things come together? The locations was actually a piece I was going to ask about, right? Because one, I know Michael's worked a lot. It didn't strike me as your writing style explicitly. But I found them incredibly effective, and it felt like you were giving a lot to us as players. Like lots of times, like it's just like, oh, you enter and do a 10 by 20 room. I mean, not even just in dungeon stuff, but you're in a room, and or it's paint the scene, but then like you're just letting the players do all the work. This was a really solid mix of what seemed like prepared, what seemed like you incarnating, what seemed like you handing over to the players and taking back. And that blend is really hard, but it made everything come alive, and it gave us all, I think, the same mental handles on the space. And that's such a delicate balance in the mechanics, and it wasn't just the places, right? It was interacting with the family members. It was the same thing, right? Which is your writing, but I was like, I don't know how much of this is written down and how much of this is Mike just having done this a lot, right? So my sense, and that sounds weird as the person who's publishing it, who has read through different iterations of it, but that's not, I rarely ever work with people as publishing partners because I'm like, oh, I read through your words super extensively, and I think I love your voice, and I love what you're trying to achieve here, and I'm excited to work with you on this project. And then, yes, send me the game so that I can get a sense that this is doable, right, and achievable. But with this team, I have very little need for proof on that and knowing how much it had been played, right? So, and as a player, I like to come to a game fresh and learn while we are playing. So I've read through plenty of it, but not for depth and looking at, okay, what is this and what is that and so like it was really cool to see all those different separate pieces coming together. And it just really seemed to sing, right? I think like we were even talking about during the break, like I can't wait to sit down and do like a 4-session game of this, mainly just because I like shorter play times, but like doing a session 0, we're just going to set it up and let everybody marinate for a day or two in this is the weird world we just built, and then come back and for 2 or 3 nights play through the narrative. And I'm super kind of thrilled to actually just sit down and play again, which is the case for some games, but the reasons for doing so on this, and even the desire to be like, man, I want people to see all the little bits of this isn't quite the same as it. I'll also say, everything is really easy to pick up, but you have layered a ton of complexity into this that feels really good at the table. And part of it is probably because you're borrowing from some systems I'm very familiar with, which lowers cognitive load. But I think even then, like the way everything escalates and moves around, like Michael said, you're already in it and having fun. And then it's easy to be like, all right, cool, you failed a roll. Do you want to do a spirit? Like, let's talk about these. Like, you don't have to introduce anything until it matters.
Yeah.
And that's a real sweet spot for raising complexity, right? There's a little bit more on the GM side of things, but we're still only talking about really 4 or 5 things you need to know, right? And so, it's just a lot there that layers really well to create great complexity without being a lot of cognitive load. Did I answer your question?
Yes. To kind of jump off of it and kind of respond to something you're saying about the sort of like, where is the text that's written and where is the improvisation and where is it the players and all of that type of thing. I think that's something that Michael and I both really like about writing these systems is like figuring out like what is that zone. I mean, jumping off of Michael's answer is what is that zone where like the players are really imbuing it, but also I get to show off as like a writer and like have participation in your gaming table in a way of being another player at the table. So what are those ideas that I can push and how do I turn those into prompts? And I think one of the things that I really like about this, and one of the things that's pulled from Bedlam Hall, very directly inspired by Bedlam Hall, are those questions about what do we say about the place and what do we say about the people? And where that fits into the session and how things unfold is that becomes a text, and it's almost a filter that as I'm running the game, am reading all of the locations through and all of your character interactions and that type of thing, where we kind of set up like, here's the players are going to give us some notes, some addendums to things. And then as we introduce these locations, I have this filter, this extra layer, to use the word that you use, that I'm reading everything through and sort of like processing and combining. And then that you can see how it just kind of like unfolds into these really cool, like sparking moments where the things start to, and it's something that happens as you start upping these troubles even more and asking for some of these background questions and all of that type of thing, is that you get these intertwining of things that spark in some really interesting ways. And as the game runner, the keeper, whatever we want to call it, you have that text that's being provided directly from the players as well, that you're sort of like pulling from and utilizing. So I tend to design games. I'm not a heavy cognitive load game person, notoriously not part of the sort of like grand tradition of role-playing games. And so I really like, just pulling from everything on the spot and being very reactive. And I like to design games that support someone who is willing to be like reactive at the table like this.
Good game. And people, if you're watching this soon, you should go to ttrpg.link /hono and hit follow on the campaign. Right now we're like we popped it up earlier today. We're right under 20 people who are following the campaign. Would love to get that up to 20,000 before we launch in the next week. But that probably won't happen. If you are watching this after November 7th, we'll probably be launched. At that point in time, you should go back it. The game overwhelmingly is complete, right? Like one of the things we're really excited about is it would be really cool if we shipped all these out before Christmas. One of the things we do know is that you will have the digital copies almost immediately after the campaign closes in the middle of November and be able to play this in the holiday season with your loved ones. And I do think we are pretty on track to probably have it delivered before Epiphany, which is January 6th, for anybody who's not a nerd like me who knows when Epiphany is. But early January, you would have the physical books so that you can have all year to plan it for your Christmas and July parties, your Advent parties, your Remembrance Day parties. That's right, Canada. We see you up there. And for next year, I'm super excited. Michael, what are your forerunning it this year, given the campaign, given that it's finally getting kind of a physical form? Is that changing anything about how you're running the game this year? Is it changing any of the way that you're looking forward to the personal tradition of this thing also too? If not, if no, is it also totally okay?
That's a good question. So much has been like to use the layering thing. We keep on layering more and more, and even in the past couple months, every time it pops up, it's like August or something, and it's like, oh, I need to start working on wassailing again. We add in more, and so that experience gets richer, and it's always fun when I run it for the group that plays it, where they're kind of like, we'll bring in somebody new and they'll be like, oh yeah, wait until you see this part. But even the folks who have been around for a while, there's new twists and developments and things that they haven't seen. And so there's a sparkle of Christmas spirit, a holiday spirit in their eyes whenever a new wrapped package gets opened up and the dynamite of whatever the content is that's inside explodes in front of their little elven faces. It's always delightful.
I'm really looking also forward to the stretch goal that unlocks the secret passageway check so that you can finally get into the underground layer of the elves. I'm really looking forward to that expansion.
That's where we add things like resource management. You got to keep track of your
spell
torches,
slots,
the burn time.
Yeah, gonna come in. Yeah, we'll take a long rest before we go down in. It's a mega dungeon, basically.
Basically, it becomes the darkest dungeon.
Yeah, basically. And so, please go over, check it out. We're all excited about it. We hope you are also. Also here at Plus One, we've never figured out a good way to end streams at this point. We're not interested in figuring one out, so we're all just going to wave at the camera until I take us off air. Bye, everybody.
Bye, all.
Bye.